When I was 3 months pregnant, my husband, Commander Chinagua, asked me for a divorce all because his sister-in-law, Jean Chiame, whose husband had passed away, was also pregnant. Chinagua felt sorry that Jean Chiame had no one to care for her. He planned to take her with him to the army base to look after her and her unborn child. Chinagua said our divorce was just a formality. He promised to remarry me once Jean Chiame gave birth and was able to raise the child on her own. In my past life, I rejected Chinagua's proposal, clinging desperately to our marriage despite everything. Jean Chiame went to the hospital for an abortion because of this, but an accident occurred. A massive hemorrhage took both her and the unborn child's lives. Chinagua came to utterly despise me when I was 6 months pregnant. He brought people to catch me in bed with the local troublemaker. I was utterly disgraced and despised by everyone. Chinagua successfully divorced me and had me sent away for re-education through labor. Life in the labor camp was exceptionally harsh. In my 8th month, exhausted, I went into premature labor. I died in childbirth at the camp, a tragic end for both mother and child. Before I could even process the agony and despair of my dying moments, I heard Chinagua earnestly proposing divorce to me. I nodded in agreement without a moment's hesitation. No time like the present. Let's go file for divorce right now. 1. I readily agreed to divorce Chinagua, with just one condition. He had to compensate me 500 yuan for the cost of raising our child. Chinagua agreed without hesitation. We went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. When we got the divorce certificate, he visibly let out a sigh of relief. He probably never expected me to agree to the divorce so readily. A weight seemed to lift from his shoulders, and his attitude towards me softened considerably. Xingnan, don't worry, the divorce is only temporary. Once I've settled Chiame and the child, I'll remarry you. A cold, mocking smile touched my lips. The memory of how Chinagua had ruthlessly schemed against me in my past life to avenge Jean Chiame was still vivid in my mind. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cub. Yet, Chinagua was so cruel to me and the child in my womb, all for Jean Chiame's sake. How could I possibly believe a single word he said for the rest of my life? I want to put as much distance between him and me as possible. I ignored Chinagua, tightened my grip on the divorce certificate, and strode down the steps. My coldness made Chinagua quicken his pace to catch up with me, his tone gentler than before. Xingnan, now that I won't be by your side, you must take good care of yourself and the child. Remember to tell me if you need anything. Seeing Chinagua speak to me so tenderly, Jean Chiame, who was waiting outside, was not pleased. Her eyes darted around, and then she suddenly clutched her stomach in pain and crouched down. Ouch, my stomach hurts so much. Hearing Jean Chiame cry out in stomach pain, Chinagua's face was filled with unmistakable concern. Without another thought for me, he strode over, scooped Jean Chiame up in his arms, and hurried straight towards the jeep. Jean Chiame wrapped her arms around Chinagua's neck and shot me a provocative smile. This was Jean Chiame's way of declaring that her place in Chinagua's heart was far more important than mine. In my past life, I never knew that Igua had been pining for Jean Chiame in his heart. When he proposed to divorce me and take Jean Chiame with him to the army base to have a child, I absolutely refused to agree. Chinagua was in the military and didn't know what Jean Chiame was really like, but I saw her true character clearly from living with her day in and day out. Jean Chiame was a beautiful woman who loved to dress up, and all the men around her were quite taken with her. Before she married Chinagua's younger brother, Qing Jiandong, she had no shortage of suitors. Even after marrying Qing Jiandong, she still received plenty of attention and flattery from admirers. In my past life, I saw more than once that when Qing Jiandong wasn't home, Jean Chiame would bring other men back to the house to fool around. So when Qing Jiandong died in an accident, and Chinagua wanted to take care of Jean Chiame and her unborn child on his behalf, I tried to warn Chinagua the child in Jean Chiame's belly was unlikely to be Qing Jiandong's. It was probably some other man's. Chinagua didn't believe me. He scolded me for making baseless accusations and trying to ruin Jean Chiame's reputation. I felt so wronged, unable to understand why Chinagua refused to believe me when I was only telling the truth. It wasn't until later, when Chinagua set me up, that I discovered he was actually one of Jean Chiame's many lovers. That shameless Chinagua had been carrying on with Jean Chiame for a long time. He believed the child in Jean Chiame's womb was his own, so of course he had to make an honest woman of her and take responsibility. In my past life, I was a fool. I couldn't see the truth and ended up causing my own demise. In this life, I will step aside and let them have their way. I want to witness with my own eyes the downfall of those two scumbags, Chinagua and Jean Chiame. 2. It took me 2 hours to walk home from the Civil Affairs Bureau. Just as I was approaching my front door, I spotted a man lurking and peering around suspiciously, loitering near my house. With just one glance, I recognized him. It was Gu Laosan, The local thug I was caught in bed with by Chinagua in my past life. What the hell is that bastard doing at my door? What does he want? In my previous life, I had seen Gu Laosan and Jin Xiaomei carrying on their illicit affair on numerous nights. I once suspected that the child in Jin Xiaomei's belly was Gu Laosan's. I had told Chinagua this, but he didn't believe me. Later, after Jin Xiaomei died from a miscarriage and severe bleeding, Gu Laosan came to me in a rage, swearing he'd make me pay in blood, and then, later on, Chinagua caught Gu Laosan and me in bed together. Those two bastards, Gu Laosan and Chinagua, framed me in their last life to get revenge for Jin Xiaomei. Those two sons of bitches are unbelievably infatuated with their mistress, Jin Xiaomei, aren't they? I wonder if Gu Laosan and Chinagua even know about each other's relationship. With Jin Xiaomei, logically speaking, they probably don't know, right? A cold smirk played on my lips. I wondered what expressions would appear on Chinagua and old Third Gu's faces if they found out they were both vying for Jin Xiaomei's affections. As I was thinking this, old Third Gu hurried over, his face beaming with a wide smile. Sister-in-law Ching, what have you been up to? I let out a cold laugh. What else? Getting a divorce. Seeing the divorce certificate in my hand, a flash of delight crossed old Third Gu's eyes. You and brother Ching really got divorced. Exactly. Chinagua said he had to take care of the child in Jin Xiaomei's belly and forced me to get a divorce. He thought I didn't know what he was really up to, but I saw right through him. Gu Laosan was taken aback. What do you mean? What else could it mean? Chinagua and that bitch Jin Xiaomei are having an affair. I sneered. Jin Xiaomei isn't just fooling around with Chinagua. There's also little Zhang from the electric heating plant, little Wang from the boiler factory, little Lu from the machine tool plant. I counted on my fingers. That slut's got some real talent, juggling 7 or 8 men on the side. Who the hell knows which bastard's brat she's carrying? Old Gu III was over the moon when he saw the divorce papers in my hand, but his face instantly turned green when I started counting off Jin Xiaomei's many lovers on my fingers. He'd always thought he was Jin Xiaomei's one and only, always believed the child in her belly was his. Old Gu III wasn't bad looking, but he was a lazy good-for-nothing without a penny to his name. So when Jin Xiaomei got pregnant, he couldn't help raise the child. He discussed with Jin Xiaomei and planned to make Chinagua the fall guy. Gu Laosan had always believed that Jin Xiaomei married Chinagua to use him as a means to raise the child for him. Now that he knows about the ambiguous relationship between Chinagua and Jin Xiaomei, how could he not be heartbroken? In our past life, he and Chinagua blamed me for Jin Xiaomei's death, accusing me of scheming against them. In this lifetime, I'll make those bastards tear each other apart. 3 Old Gu III stormed off in a huff. I went back inside with a cold sneer. Since I'm divorced from Chinagua now, I have to start planning for my future. I can't possibly keep this baby. I need to get rid of it as soon as possible. Chinagua and Jin Xiaomei are both despicable. They're a pair of ruthless, immoral scoundrels. To avoid making the same mistake again, I need to plan ahead this time. I went back to my room, opened the trunk, took out the few $100s I had saved up, and sewed it into the lining of my clothes. Just as I finished sewing the money away, Chinagua came back with Jin Xiaomei. Jin Xiaomei was leaning against Chinagua as if she had no bones in her body, whimpering softly. She saw me come out and actually reached out to cling to Chinagua. I can't walk anymore, she said. Carry me back to the room, Ching. Igua has completely stopped pretending to be discreet now. Right in front of me, he picked up Jin Xiaomei and carried her into the bedroom. Soon, her coquettish laughter drifted out from the room, and it went on for quite a while. Chinagua finally deigned to come out. With shameless audacity, he said to me, Xiaomei is anemic and needs a good tonic. Go buy a chicken right now and make her some soup. Since marrying Chinagua, I haven't spent a single cent of his money. He spent all his money supporting his mother and younger brother. I used to think it was filial piety for his mother and kindness for his brother's family. Only now do I realize what this so-called filial piety and kindness really are. I'm not in his heart at all. He just sees me as their family's free live-in maid. In my past life, I didn't see Chinagua's true malice until the day I died. Did he really think he could use me again in this lifetime? In his dreams, I looked up at Chinagua, calmly extending my hand. Fine, give me the money, and I'll go buy a chicken to nourish Jin Xiaomei. Chinagua was used to bossing me around, ordering me to work without ever paying a single cent. Now, I actually had the nerve to ask him for money. Chinagua's face darkened. Can't you cover it first? I'm broke. What about your paycheck? My paycheck is all gone. I've been married to you for 3 years, and you haven't given me a single cent. Do you think I don't need to eat and drink, not to mention your mother constantly finding excuses to come and ask me for money, food, and drinks? I can't just print money, so where am I supposed to get it from? I looked at Chinagua and reminded him, enunciating each word clearly, you promised to give me 500 yuan to support me and the child if we got divorced. Give me the money now. Chinagua's face darkened. I don't have that much money right now. Are you going back on your word? Chinagua, I've already let you take care of Jean Chamay. But a person can't be so heartless, can they? I'm carrying your child, you must give me the money right now, or else. I didn't finish my sentence. Chinagua should know what that or else implies. If word gets out about his secret affair with Jean Chamay, it won't be a small matter. If he wants to keep his current position and his wealth, he has to keep me placated first. In the end, Chinagua reluctantly gave me 500 yuan, then stormed off to the market to buy a chicken with a face like thunder. When Jean Chamay found out that Chinagua had given me 500 yuan to buy my silence, she was not happy about it. She didn't even bother staying in bed pretending to be frail anymore. She came to find me in a huff, demanding, Li Xingnan, what right do you have to take Agua's money for? What do you mean you don't know? I sneered at Jean Chamay. This is what Chinagua owes me. He didn't want me to expose your little affair, so of course he had to pay me to keep quiet. Jean Chamay hadn't expected me to lay it all out in the open. She was taken aback for a moment, then gave a careless laugh. So you found out, did you? Well, since you know, I won't bother hiding it anymore. Jean Chamay said smugly, Agua is the one who loves me. I might as well tell you. I spent my wedding night with Qing Jiandong with Agua. Shameless. I never imagined those two lowlifes could be so vile. Seeing me angry only made Jean Chamay happier, and she grew even more unrestrained. Going into graphic detail about her sordid affair with Chinagua, Qing Jiandong was dead drunk and passed out. I was fed up with taking care of him, so my mother-in-law, Wang Baodi, called Chinagua over to help. Right there next to Qing Jiandong, we embraced. No wonder Chinagua dotes on Jean Chamay so much, insisting on divorcing me at all costs to give her and the child in her belly a proper home. Chinagua had already been involved with Jean Chamay. He probably thought he was the only man in her life, didn't he? His love for Jean Chamay was genuine, so genuine that he refused to believe me when I told him she was having an affair with Gu Laosan and was entangled with other men. I hope that once he gets what he wants in this life, he and Jean Chamay will be stuck together forever and never part. As I was thinking to myself, Jean Chamay's gaze fell on my stomach. Li Xingnan, since you already know the truth, stop dreaming about reconciling with Agua. Get rid of that child in your belly. On what grounds? I stared coldly at Jean Chamay. Chinagua promised he would remarry me. Why should I get rid of my child? You still dare to dream of giving birth to that child? Jean Chamay chuckled. Let me tell you, Li Xingnan, Agua just told me he will never let your child be born. Within 3 days, he'll make sure that thing in your womb meets a gruesome end. I had no reason to doubt Jean Chamay's words. After all, in my past life, Chinagua had shown not a shred of mercy towards me or the child in my womb. Since he intends to make an attempt on my life just like before, I won't hold back either. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I'll settle the scores of 2 lifetimes at once. When Chinagua returned, he brought back not only an old hen but also his mother, Wang Baodi. He was in the kitchen slaughtering a chicken when Wang Baodi came to my room looking for me. She glared at me with her beady, triangular eyes. I'm sick. I need to go to the provincial capital to see a doctor. I need 500 yuan. Give me the money now. Ever since I married Chinagua, Wang Baodi has never once shown me a kind expression. She thinks I'm not sweet-tongued enough, that I'm dull and wooden, and that I'm not good enough for her son, Chinagua. No matter how much money I gave her or how many times I bought her food, Wang Baodi always had it in for me. Wang Baodi's favorite was Jean Chamay, who was all sweet talk and empty gestures. Jean never gave Wang a single cent or lifted a finger to help her with anything. All it took was a few sweet words calling her mom and a shoulder rub, and Wang Baodi would be over the moon, happily boasting everywhere about how filial Jean Chamay was. Wang Baodi still sees me as that foolish, long-suffering Li Xingnan from the past, the one she could walk all over. I replied coldly, old woman, if you want money, go find your son Chinagua, or your daughter-in-law Jean Chamay. What business is it of mine, an outsider? I'm divorced from your son. I have no obligation or responsibility to give you a single cent. 5. Taken aback by my refusal, Wang Baodi started cursing under her breath. You jinx, how dare you talk back to me? Who do you think you are? Asking Agua for 500 yuan. Take a good look in the mirror. Do you even deserve that much money? Whether I deserve this 500 yuan is not for you to decide. This is just your eldest son Chinagua and your youngest daughter-in-law Jean Chamay being too eager to get together, so they're trying to buy my silence. That's a damn lie. How dare you, you rotten scoundrel, slander my son. I'll slap you dead. You hear me? I shot to my feet. Let me give you a piece of advice. watch your filthy mouth, push me too far, and I'll go shout it from the courtyard. All the aunties and neighbors around here would love some fresh gossip to chew over. Wang Baodi was hopping mad. But she also knew about the scandal between Chinagua and Jean Xiaomei. She knew dirty laundry shouldn't be aired in public. He shot me a vicious glare before turning away in bitter resignation when Chinagua brought Wang Baodi back. He was hoping to get the money he'd given me back. Little did they expect to fail. Those three wretches were far from giving up. Wang Baodi came back, barking orders and commanding me to go to the kitchen to stoke the fire and make chicken soup. She, along with Chinagua and his mother, was holed up in the room with Jean Xiaomei, whispering in secret. I sneaked around the back of the house to the rear window to eavesdrop and heard Wang Baodi's venomous voice. Li Xingnan knows about you and Xiaomei. The fact that she dares to demand such an exorbitant sum from you means she'll never let us have any peace. We'd better settle this matter once and for all, and soon. Yes, I'm also worried Li Xingnan will keep stirring up trouble. We need to think of a way to end this for good, Jean Xiaomei chimed in. Chinagua's voice dropped to a low murmur. I was willing to keep her if she behaved and stayed obedient like before, but now that she knows, we can't let her live. We act tonight. You already have a plan, Chinagua nodded, to stop her from exposing us first. We'll strike preemptively, we'll find her a lover to frame her. I've even prepared the drug we'll need, so they plan to slander and frame me again, just like in my past life. A cold sneer touched my lips as I turned and walked back to the kitchen. The aroma of chicken soup filled the entire kitchen. I lifted the lid and picked out the 2 chicken thighs, wings, and the best pieces of breast meat. With 2 large bowls full of meat, I sat in the kitchen eating to my heart's content, my mouth glistening with grease. After finishing the meat and downing 2 more large bowls of the broth, Chinagua and Wang Baodi finally came to the kitchen. Having settled their discussion, Wang Baodi asked with feigned concern, "Is the chicken soup ready? If it is, we'll get ready to eat." As she spoke, she spotted the chicken bones on the floor. Wang Baodi immediately rushed over, flung open the pot lid, and upon seeing the pot full of bones and scraps, her face flushed crimson with rage. "You greedy little wretch, with so many mouths in this house, you don't have a shred of consideration." Cursing, she came at me to hit me. I wasn't about to take it lying down. As Wang Baodi lunged, I sidestepped and, for good measure, kicked a stool in her direction. Wang Baodi missed her target, tumbled to the floor, and her front teeth smacked right into the stool I'd kicked. A sharp, pained shriek followed instantly. 7 teeth and blood flew everywhere as Wang Baodi howled in pain. When had she ever suffered such a loss? With a lisp from her missing teeth, she slurred her orders to Chinagua. "Igua, beat this little bitch to death. Do it now." Chinagua didn't make a move. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but he was saving it for the plan that night. He clenched his fists, glared at me, and roared, "Li Xingnan, you've gone too far. How dare you hit my mother? If anything happens to her, you'll have me to answer to." After his outburst, he helped Wang Baodi out. Jean Xiaomei, hearing the commotion, came over. Chinagua and Jean Xiaomei supported Wang Baodi on either side as they led her out. As she walked, Wang Baodi wailed at the top of her lungs, her mouth gaping open where 2 teeth were missing. "They say I neglect the family, always running off somewhere, and nobody knows what I'm up to. They also claim I'm always yelling at her, making her miserable, starving her. And today I even laid hands on her. That whole wretched family is trying to get ahead of the game, pinning false accusations on me first. That way, when they scheme against me tonight, no one will have any sympathy for me. If they show no mercy, I'll show no justice. Tonight, we'll see who comes out on top." At 7 in the evening, Chinagua and the other 2 finally returned. I sat quietly in the room waiting. Half an hour later, Chinagua pushed the door open. He was holding a bowl of brown sugar and egg soup, a rare smile on his face. "You must be hungry. I made this for you. I know the divorce was unfair to you, Xingnan. There's really nothing between me and Jean Xiaomei. I only took care of her for Jiandong's sake. Don't listen to the gossip from outsiders. And my mother, she's always had that temper. Please don't stoop to her level." If it were the Li Xingnan from my past life, these words would have moved me to tears, wouldn't they? But I've already died once. I looked at Chinagua with cold indifference. "It wasn't gossip. Jean Xiaomei told me herself about your affair. She said you were fooling around right next to Qing Jiandong on your wedding night." Chinagua never expected Jean Xiaomei would reveal such a private matter. His face stiffened. He quickly forced a smile. "Xiaomei's talking nonsense. Don't believe her. I'm not that kind of man. Why would she lie? No one's foolish enough to slander themselves, are they?" Jean Xiaomei even said the child in her belly is yours. "Impossible. I'll go ask her what this is about right now." Afraid I might say something even harsher, Chinagua eagerly offered me the bowl of brown sugar eggs he was holding. "Xingnan, you eat these first. After you're done, I'll bring Chiame over and we'll explain everything properly. So you need to see me eat this special brown sugar egg soup with your own eyes to be satisfied. I took the bowl of brown sugar egg soup and finished it all in front of Chinagua. Chinagua looked relieved, picked up the bowl and chopsticks, and left. As he went, he thoughtfully suggested I lie down and rest if I felt tired. I obediently took off my shoes and lay down on the bed. A cold smile flickered at the corner of Chinagua's mouth as he closed the door and left. Half an hour later, a furtive figure crept in and pushed open my slightly ajar door. About another quarter of an hour passed, and Wang Baodi, missing a front tooth, tiptoed to my doorway to eavesdrop. Hearing the bed frame groan under strain from inside, a sly, triumphant smirk flickered across her face. Wang Baodi spun around and ran out, muttering venomously as she went, "You little bitch, I'll teach you to act so high and mighty, just you wait, tonight will be your end." 8. Driven by the hatred of her 2 missing teeth, Wang Baodi flew out of the house without her feet touching the ground. Soon, she knocked on the door of her neighbor, Uncle Zhang. "To the left, uncle," she said. "My Chiame has a stomachache. Zhangwo isn't home right now, he's out on business. Could you and auntie please do me a favor and take Chiame to the hospital to get checked out?" Uncle Zhang readily agreed. Wang Baodi didn't just call on Uncle Zhang and Aunt Zhang, using the excuse that the night road was dark and more hands might be needed. She went ahead and called on 4 or 5 neighboring families as well. The group of over 10 people quickly followed Wang Baodi into the house. She wasn't in a hurry to take them to send Jean Chiame to the hospital. Instead, she turned a corner and came to my door, knocking heavily on it several times. "Li Xingnan, Chiame has a stomachache and needs to go to the hospital. Bring out a military overcoat for her to wear." Without waiting for a response, she pushed the door open. As it swung inward, Wang Baodi let out a shriek like a startled chicken. "Who is this? Why is there a man in your bed?" "Li Xingnan, are you cheating on my Igua?" behind his back, "You shameless, good-for-nothing wretch." Cursing all the while, she lunged forward and yanked back the lumpy quilt on the bed. She expected to find an extra man in my bed, but when the quilt was pulled away, not only was there no strange man to be seen, I myself had vanished without a trace. Wang Baodi stood frozen in place, unable to explain herself. The women following her, Auntie Zhang, Auntie Lu, and Auntie Zhao, had been wearing gleeful, expectant looks. But they all gasped in unison when they saw a large trunk under the quilt. Instead, the women exchanged glances and spoke in unison. "What did you just say? That Li Xingnan was having an affair? Did we hear that right?" "Well, I mean," Wang Baodi was utterly baffled by how things had turned out. She was the one who personally let him in, watched old Gu III enter my room, and even heard the bed creaking. "So why is old Gu III nowhere to be found now? And why have I vanished too?" She was scratching her head, at a complete loss for words, when my piercing shriek came from outside. "Ah, I can't go on living. Chinagua, you heartless monster. How could you cheat on me with Jean Chiame? Are you even human?" 9. The crowd of onlookers gathered at my door heard my wails and, as one, followed the sound and came running. Jean Chiame's door was wide open. I was in her room, wielding a rolling pin, frantically beating the fastidious Chinagua. I had beaten Chinagua until his face was covered in blood, yet he stubbornly refused to separate from Jean Chiame, clinging to her like a dog. I pounded on Chinagua while screaming, "Weren't you supposed to be out handling business? And you ended up in Jean Chiame's room. Chinagua, you heartless, ungrateful bastard. Are you even human? How can you face Qing Jiandong? And you, Jean Chiame, you shameless tramp. I treated you with such genuine kindness. When your husband died, I pitied you, brought you food and drink, even gave you money. And this is how you repay me? Sleeping with this disgraceful Chinagua. Doesn't your conscience ache? Everyone, open your eyes and see, this Qing fellow and Jean Chiame, these 2 shameless creatures, are bullying me beyond belief. This definitely isn't their first time. My life is so wretched. His whole family is inhuman. They've worked me like a beast of burden, lived off me, eaten my food, drunk my drink, and now they have the gall to treat me like this." Witnessing the scene firsthand and hearing my tearful, impassioned accusations, the onlookers began to murmur and gossip amongst themselves. "How disgraceful. His wife is pregnant, and he does something so utterly despicable. Exactly. There are so many women out there. Why did he have to go after someone in the family, and to carry on an affair right under his wife's nose? It's absolutely revolting, utterly depraved, it's downright inhuman. How can these 2 be so shameless?" They didn't even stop with so many people around. Chinagua kept letting out agonized cries. At first, everyone thought it was from the beating I gave him. It wasn't until a long time had passed and he and Jean Chiame showed no sign of separating that someone finally gasped in realization. "Are they stuck together? Oh my God, I've seen it all now. As Chinagua and Jean Chame wailed in pain, I continued my tearful tirade of verbal attacks. Chinagua kept saying he wanted to help his late brother by looking after his widow, Jean Chame. He gave all his salary and allowances to her and even planned to have her follow him to his military post. Today, he forced me to divorce him, saying he'd remarry me after Jean Chame gave birth. Like a fool, I believed him, and now, he's openly carrying on with her. Qing Jiandong has been dead for 3 months, and Jean Chame's pregnancy is only 2 months along. Need I say more? That child is definitely Chinagua's, isn't it? That's entirely possible. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cub. He neglects his own wife and child to go out of his way to care for someone else's. If you tell me that child isn't his, I'll eat my hat. Poor Qing Jiandong. He hasn't even been gone that long, his body's barely cold, and Chinagua is already acting like this. He's not even human. I strongly suspect Qing Jiandong was murdered by them. After all, illicit affairs have led to murder since the dawn of time. Makes sense. Wang Baodi had gathered a crowd, eager to watch me make a fool of myself. They pointed at the anguished faces of Chinagua and Jean Chame, hurling all sorts of insults over there. Wang Baodi was as frantic as an ant on a hot skillet, shouting herself hoarse, trying to shoo people away, but these were people she had gone to great lengths to trick into coming. Having stumbled upon such a spectacle, how could they possibly leave? Not only were the people she had called unwilling to leave, but more and more onlookers were drawn by the commotion. The Qing family had never been this lively before. The place was packed to the rafters. Even so, Chinagua had no intention of parting ways with Jean Chame. Seeing the couple's shameless display, the gossip and tut-tutting from the crowd could be heard from a mile away. The situation was beyond saving now, and Wang Baodi knew there was no turning back. Seeing Chinagua beaten bloody by me, she lunged forward like a madwoman to stop it. Stop, you stop right now. Of course I wouldn't stop. This was hatred spanning 2 lifetimes. I summoned every ounce of strength to keep pummeling Chinagua. Seeing her son's face and head covered in blood, Wang Baodi, driven by a mother's protective fury, rushed over and shoved me away with all her might. Exhausted, I let out a blood-curdling scream and collapsed to the floor, clutching my stomach in agony. My baby, my baby. 10. The neighbors immediately scrambled to carry my bleeding body to the hospital. Of course, the baby couldn't be saved. After all, I had taken abortion pills in advance. I never intended to keep this child from the moment I was reborn. Last night, the whole thing was a scheme plotted by Chinagua's family against me, but it was also a carefully orchestrated counterattack of my own design. After overhearing that Chinagua was preparing to use extreme measures against me, just like in my previous life, I immediately formulated a plan to deal with it. I deliberately ate the best chicken and the drumsticks, waiting for Wang Baodi to lose her temper in this house. The good food and drink never come my way. Chinagua, Jean Chame, and Wang Baodi always get the best treatment. I knew Wang Baodi would be furious and curse me out when she saw I'd eaten all the chicken thighs and breasts. I need to provoke Wang Baodi, give her a little punishment, so I can proceed with my plan against those 3 bitches. I succeeded. Wang Baodi flew into a rage and came at me, but I knocked out 2 of her front teeth. Chinagua made a snap decision to tarnish my reputation and set me up for the evening. He deliberately helped Jean Chame support Wang Baodi, making a scene all the way so everyone would know, and this time gap was exactly what I was waiting for. As Chinagua and Jean Chame took Wang Baodi to see the doctor, I immediately headed for Jean Chame's room while hiding under the window eavesdropping. I saw it clearly. Chinagua handed the drug he intended to use against me to Jean Chame, and she placed it in the drawer of her bedside table. After swapping out the medicine Chinagua had prepared to use against me, I proceeded with the first step of my plan, that was to set up Jean Chame. After Jean Chame got pregnant, Chinagua doted on the child in her belly. He would make her a cup of milk every night. I opened the milk powder tin and mixed the drug powder into it. I was confident Jean Chame would drink the milk that night. Once she drank the spiked milk, a little surprise would be waiting for her and Chinagua. After adding the substance to the milk powder and stashing the fake packet back in the drawer, I picked up a few bricks and returned to my room to wait for nightfall. He Jiangwo and his 2 companions returned home only after visiting the hospital and finalizing the details of their plan. Unaware that the medicine had been swapped, Chinagua used the powder I had substituted to make me a bowl of poached eggs and sweet syrup. I ate the sweet egg soup right in front of Chinagua. Seeing me consume it with his own eyes, a weight lifted from his shoulders. He was waiting for me to be disgraced all over again, just like in my past life. To be defiled by third brother Gu and caught in the act in front of everyone. To avoid raising suspicion, Chinagua planned to make an excuse and slip away for a while. After confirming I had fallen into the trap, he intended to return only after the scandal broke out. but when he went to say goodbye to Jean Chiame, she ended up clinging to him. Having consumed the substance they had prepared themselves, Jean Chiame couldn't help but flirt shamelessly with Chinagua. Chinagua was never a decent man to begin with. After being seduced by Jean Chiame, he decided to take his chances and enjoy himself for a while. He planned to slip out through Jean Chiame's window once Wang Baodi showed up with a crowd to make a scene, but things didn't go as he expected. I was already prepared. When third brother Gu came in, I raised the brick I had ready and struck him hard on the head. Third brother Gu collapsed to the floor without a sound. I hated that accomplice, third brother Gu. With a passion, I picked up a brick in my hand and smashed it with all my force into Gu Laosan's crotch. I smashed Gu Laosan's crotch to a pulp. Needless to say, he'll never be a man again. When Wang Baodi came to eavesdrop, I heard her footsteps and deliberately made the bed creak, making her think her vile scheme had succeeded. While Wang Baodi went out to fetch people, I dragged Gu Laosan out of my room and dumped him by the latrine. After finishing all that, I hurried back, only to find Chinagua and Jean Chiame were already going at it hammer and tongs. Perhaps even heaven couldn't stomach their shamelessness. The two scoundrels got the fright of their lives when I cornered them in bed with a rolling pin. In her panic, Jean Chiame latched onto Chinagua, who was trying to make a run for it, and just like that, they became a spectacle for everyone to see. 11. Witnessing Chinagua and Jean Chiame's shameless act, and then suffering a miscarriage because of it, the neighbors who took me to the hospital were full of sympathy, comforting me the entire way. After arriving at the hospital, I was taken straight to the operating room. The doctor performed a dilation and curettage procedure on me. Chinagua and Jean Chiame were also rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. A scandal of this magnitude is truly a once-in-a-century event, and it has spread throughout the entire county. It is said that the scandal involving Chinagua and Jean Chiame spread like wildfire, attracting countless onlookers. They were brought to the hospital on a single stretcher, covered with a white sheet, followed by a crowd of hundreds of onlookers. Such a spectacle was truly unprecedented. It's said that after a consultation, several doctors had to exert an immense effort to separate Chinagua and Jean Chiame. When I stepped out of the operating room, the incident was the talk of the town. First time I'm hearing this. Oh my god, completely naked. Exactly. I heard it's the elder brother-in-law and his younger brother's wife. No doubt about it, they live right next to me. The man's a military officer, always putting on such a respectable front. Who would have guessed he's a complete scoundrel behind closed doors? I heard the child she's carrying is his, not his late brother's. That Jean Chiame is a notorious tramp. The child in her belly definitely isn't her late husband's. Whether it's her brother-in-law's is another story. After all, the men she's been with outside number in the dozens, if not hundreds. You know what they say, affairs often lead to murder. Do you think that younger brother was killed by those two adulterers? It's possible. I heard their mother, Wang Baodi, knew all about their filthy affair from the start. That Wang Baodi is no good either. She even tried to frame her pregnant daughter-in-law. Last night, the whole scandal blew up because Wang Baodi brought a crowd home to catch them in the act. Right, I heard that too. They say Wang Baodi used the excuse of taking her younger daughter-in-law to the hospital to gather the neighbors. She barged straight into the elder daughter-in-law's room, flung the door open, and started shrieking about her cheating, only to find the room completely empty. That family is truly despicable. Thank goodness the eldest daughter-in-law was sharp, or she would have fallen right into their trap. By the way, I heard they found that local troublemaker, Gu Laosan, unconscious by the outhouse, covered in blood down there. Could he be mixed up in this too? Exactly. Gu Laosan and that Jean Chiame have been carrying on for ages. Could it be that Jean Chiame, Chinagua, and Wang Baodi all set Gu Laosan up together? The Gu family is a huge clan, not to be trifled with. If they really did scheme against Gu Laosan like that, the Gu family will definitely step up and get revenge for him. A faint smile played on my lips as I listened to the gossip. Without a moment's delay, I picked up the phone and reported Chinagua to his military unit for engaging in improper relationships. The military unit, upon receiving my report, promised to immediately dispatch someone to investigate the matter. Only then did I return to my hospital room to rest. I knew that with the huge scene from last night, Chinagua wouldn't be able to cover it up even if he had all the power in the world. I just never expected there was another surprise in store for me. My neighbor, Auntie Zhang, who came to visit, told me some completely unexpected news. Xingnan, Chinagua was just out of the operating room and got beaten up again. 13. I was secretly delighted, but kept a straight face. Who did it? Who else? The Gu family. Of course, it was that hoodlum Gu Laosan's people. They started the fight right in the hospital room, broke 3 of his bones, even put out one of his eyes. What on earth was it about this time? I asked, feigning surprise. Aunt Zhang sighed at my clueless expression. You silly girl, you'd help count the money. For the person who just sold you, you're just lucky, I tell you. Heaven is looking out for you, Sister Zhang told me with vivid detail. Gu Laosan's family said that last night, Jean Xiaomei went to see him. No one knows what she said, but he left with her and never came back. He was found unconscious this morning, right by the outhouse outside your house. The Gu family rushed him to the hospital right away. They saved his life. But he's a broken man now. His, down there, was smashed to pieces. When Gu Laosan woke up, he was in agony and confessed everything to his family about his secret with Jean Xiaomei. Sister Zhang's face was full of contempt. That Jean Xiaomei wasn't just carrying on with Chinagua, she'd been fooling around with Gu Laosan for a long time. Gu Laosan thought the child in her belly was his, so he did whatever she told him. Last night, she went to him and said you had it in for her. She told him to violate you, to get revenge for her. So Gu Lao San sneaked into your room and got knocked out cold. Xingnan, was it you who knocked him out? Of course I wouldn't admit it. Absolutely not, I said. Last night, after eating the sweet egg soup Chinagua brought me, I had a sudden urge to pee and kept running to the bathroom. You know how it is with pregnant women, we're always needing to go. Exactly, sister-in-law Zhang nodded in agreement. When I was pregnant, I was up going to the bathroom several times a night too, I continued. On my way back from the bathroom, I passed by Jean Xiaomei's room and heard strange noises. I thought it was odd. Isn't her husband dead? So who was in there with her? I crept closer to listen. And that's when I heard Chinagua's voice. I was furious. I grabbed a rolling pin and went to catch them in the act. So that's what happened. You got lucky. That Gu Laosan was lured there by Jean Xiaomei to set you up. The one who knocked him out must have been Chinagua. Where would a pregnant woman like you get the strength for that? Aunt Zhang took pity on me and believed every word I said. After hearing Gu Laosan's account, the Gu family was convinced that Chinagua and Jean Xiaomei had set him up. The Gu family wasn't one to be trifled with, so they went straight for Chinagua. Aunt Zhang told me that the Gu family sent a few strong, young toughs. They broke several of Chinagua's bones. He was howling in agony, and they even knocked his eye out. Jean Xiaomei didn't get off scot-free either. She tried to make a run for it after learning Chinagua had been beaten. The Gu family cornered her, and they showed no mercy to the one they held responsible. After a brutal beating, Jean Xiaomei suffered a massive hemorrhage, lost the baby, and had her uterus removed, rendering her unable to bear children for the rest of her life. This is the best news I could have hoped for. I'm over the moon. Next came the military's punishment for Chinagua. Wasn't he scheming to divorce me all along, just so he could run off and be with Jean Xiaomei? Let's see if they'll still choose each other and stick together once the military's punishment comes down. The military investigation team arrived with remarkable speed, showing up the very next day. The affair between Chinagua and Jean Xiaomei is now common knowledge, so the investigation team had little trouble gathering all the evidence. The military leadership showed no leniency for Chinagua's conduct and summarily discharged him. I heard that when Chinagua came to and learned of the army's punishment, he let out a howl and passed out again. 14. I was discharged from the hospital 3 days later. When I got home, I found Wang Baodi cooking in my kitchen. After just 3 days, Wang Baodi looked like she'd aged a decade or more. Her face was covered in scratches, clearly the result of someone clawing at her. It seems the Gu family showed Wang Baodi no mercy either. Seeing me return, Wang Baodi stood up with venom in her eyes and pointed a finger at me. You rotten-hearted little bitch, how dare you show your face here? Just you wait, I'll make you pay. She took out all her pent-up frustration from the past few days on me, trying to use me to save face. There was no way I was going to let her get away with that. I grabbed Wang Baodi by the hair and started slapping her across the face. Wang Baodi howled in pain from the beating. I dragged her by the hair and threw her out the door. This is my house. If you dare set foot in here again, I'll beat you every single time I see you. Wang Baodi was beaten black and blue, with blood streaming from her nose and mouth. Having never suffered such humiliation before, she screamed that she would call the police. When the officers arrived, I presented our divorce certificate, proving I was no longer married to Chinagua. I also informed the police that the house was left to me by my parents and had absolutely nothing to do with Chinagua or Wang Baodi. Chinagua's scandals were the talk of the town, so the police were well aware that I was the victim in all this. Sympathizing with my situation, they gave Wang Baodi a stern lecture and ordered my former mother-in-law to leave my home immediately. After getting a good thrashing, Wang Baodi slunk away with his tail between his legs. I packed up all of Chen Jiangwo and Jean Xiaomei's belongings and tossed them in the dumpster. I've settled the score. Gu Laosan and Chinagua are both rotten to the core. I didn't lay a finger on them, yet they still tried to scheme against me. They took a real beating this time, and they'll definitely be looking for payback. As the saying goes, a cornered dog will jump over a wall, and another warns to always be on your guard. To avoid retaliation from Gulasan and Chinagua, it was best not to linger here. I made a snap decision to sell my house and my job, leave this place, and head south. I asked for 3,000 for the house, and just 1,000 for the job because the prices were so low. I quickly found a buyer. I bought a train ticket and left town the very same day I got the money. I headed to Shenzhen in the south. Just as the winds of reform and opening up began to blow, I used the money to start a clothing business. At first, I just set up a street stall, but later I moved into a proper storefront. In just 3 short years, I owned 10 stores and had become a boss. I ran into our neighbor, Auntie Zhang. Again on a late autumn evening. I had just finished dinner and was leaving the restaurant to get in my car when I heard someone calling my name, Xingnan, Li Xingnan. I turned around and saw Auntie Zhang, whom I hadn't seen in years. She had put on a little weight. Beaming, she came over and took my hands. Is it really you? You must be doing well for yourself. You look so young and pretty. I spotted you earlier but didn't dare believe it was you. Auntie Zhang had helped me before, and I'm a grateful person. So I treated her to a meal. She said the factory had shut down, and she had come here to find work. My shop also needed help, so I asked Auntie Zhang if she'd like to lend a hand. Auntie Zhang happily agreed. Over the meal, she told me what had happened after I left. 2 weeks after I left, Chinagua was kicked out of the hospital for failing to pay the bills. He even had the nerve to try and stay in my house, only to return and find it had been sold and I was long gone. With no other options, Chinagua had to slink back to his hometown with Wang Baodi in tow. He had been discharged from the army, lost his job, and was blind in one eye. Finding work was impossible, so he had no choice but to return home and take up farming. Unable to accept such a drastic fall from grace, Chinagua became extremely irritable, frequently lashing out at Wang Baodi with verbal abuse and sometimes even resorting to physical violence. Knowing he could never return to the army or regain his former swagger, Chinagua pinned all his hopes on Jin Xiaomei. He believed that since he had given so much for Jin Xiaomei and offered her his sincere heart, she should reciprocate his feelings in kind. Chinagua planned to build a life together with Jin Xiaomei, so he went to find Jin Xiaomei and got completely shut down. Jin Xiaomei had once lowered herself for Chinagua, coveting his status, but now, blind, crippled, and jobless, Chinagua was nothing to her. Jin Xiaomei simply ignored Chinagua. Only when he pestered her relentlessly did she finally tell him the brutal truth. Jin Xiaomei said Chinagua had no idea which fling he even was for her, and that she'd only been after him for the comfortable life he could provide. Now that Chinagua has lost his job, how is he supposed to support her? Not to mention, Chinagua is blind in one eye, and the sight of him disgusts her. Jin Xiaomei even told Chinagua that the child she was carrying wasn't Qin Zhangwo's at all, it was Gu Laosan's. Furious, Chinagua gave Jin Xiaomei a savage beating and forced her to go with him. Just as the commotion was reaching its peak, someone from the Gu family arrived. With third brother Gu now a cripple, the Gu family demanded that the instigator, Jin Xiaomei, be held responsible for his care for the rest of his life. Faced with the choice between the one-eyed Chinagua and the physically intact third brother Gu, Jin Xiaomei chose the latter. After being abandoned by Jin Xiaomei and beaten by the Gu family, a resentful Chinagua returned to the countryside with Wang Baodi. Everyone thought the matter was over, but little did they know that half a month later, Chinagua, armed with a butcher's knife, crept into Gu Laosan's house. Gu Laosan and Jin Xiaomei were hacked to death on the spot. It was said that blood flowed from the house all the way outside, staining the ground in a scene of utter horror. Chinagua did not flee. He turned himself in and was swiftly sentenced to death. He was executed by firing squad just 6 months after being captured. I had long anticipated this outcome. After all, a vicious and utterly amoral creature like Chinagua is capable of anything. I am familiar with the saying about a cornered beast. I already died once at Chinagua's hands. I don't want any more accidents. I left home to prevent Chinagua, who had become a desperate man, from taking revenge on me. Now that Chinagua, Gu Laosan, and Jin Xiaomei are all dead and gone, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. With those scumbags gone, I'm going to live my own life to the fullest. I will be happier than in my past life, and I will definitely find my own happiness. The end. Story 2. My wife, you're so beautiful. Beside the luxurious Heinzmann crystal piano, Zhang Pei was locked in a passionate kiss with Ru Lin when his phone suddenly rang urgently. Being interrupted in such a moment clearly displeased him. However, upon seeing that the caller was his best friend Zhou Shu, he still answered the call. As soon as the call connected, he reminded Zhou Shu in German, "Speak German, brother." Pei, at your wedding with Ru Lin next month, are you really planning to run away? Run away? Ru Lin froze. What's this about running away from the wedding then? She heard his careless and unrestrained voice. If I don't run away, should I really marry her? You all know I only pursued her deliberately because I have a grudge against her older brother. Her brother is already dead, since the brother's debt can't be repaid, of course. I have to take it out on her. Lin Yongchao cherished his only sister so much. If he knew that not only did I toy with his precious sister, but I also ran away from the wedding, humiliating her, wouldn't he die with everlasting regret? Ru Lin's fingers trembled violently, her body shivered with cold, and her heart felt as if it had plunged into an icy abyss, completely frozen. She had no idea what grudges existed between her elder brother and Zane Pei. All she knew was that after the death of her brother, who had been her sole support, Zane Pei appeared by her side. He accompanied her, comforted her, and took care of her. With his deep affection and care, he slowly mended her shattered heart, reviving her despairing soul bit by bit. She thought that Zane Pei was a ray of light she had grasped in the dark abyss. Now, she finally understood that the light had never belonged to her from the beginning. His kindness to her, his unwavering devotion, it was all fake, all fake. Lin Yongchao dares to offend Brother Pei. He really is a piece of trash. Zhou Shu continued in standard German, but I have to say, his sister is really stunning. I've never seen a woman more beautiful than her. Brother Pei, once you're done with the runaway wedding and the game is over, you'll dump her, right? Can I have a go with her then? And me? Ru Lin's waist is so damn slim, I've been craving her for ages. Brother Pei, can I have a shot at her too? With a face like hers, I could go 8 times in one night. There were clearly other people around Zhou Shu soon. Ru Lin heard several others speaking in German. Ru Lin is a dance student. I've heard that taking a dance student from behind is an out-of-this-world experience. Ru Lin dances so well. I really want to find out just how intoxicating she feels. Count me in when the time comes. I don't mind joining you all. I can go 10 times in one night. Haha. I can't wait any longer. A chilling frost swiftly spread across Zane Pei's roguishly handsome face. Overwhelmed by fury and disappointment, Ru Lin felt an icy chill spreading through her chest, her entire body trembling as if trapped in an endless blizzard. She had been with Zane Pei for so long. She knew better than anyone just how possessive he was. She had thought that even if he had approached her solely for revenge, he would never tolerate his friends coveting her body. Their words had been so vulgar, so repulsive. She had truly believed he would erupt in anger. To her surprise, she heard him say, "I'm a clean freak, stay away from her. Until the show is over. After I've had my fun with this runaway marriage, you can do whatever you want." Bro Pei, when are you coming? We're all waiting for you in the private room, and Mira Qin is here too. Zhou Shu paused, then added, she lost the game, truth or dare, and now she has to find someone for a 3-minute French kiss. If you don't come, no one will help her with the kiss, and she'll have to drink 3 shots of hard liquor. After all, she's the girl I've been sponsoring. Don't bully her. I'm on my way now. With those words, Zane Pei hung up the phone. He didn't kiss Ru Lin again, swiftly carrying her into the master bedroom with one arm while gently brushing away the stray hairs on her forehead. Wife, I'm going to a meeting. I'll be back soon. Clearly, he was in a hurry to go share a French kiss with the girl he'd been sponsoring. Ru Lin didn't speak, just closed her eyes and numbly turned her face away. He thought that as a dance student, she wouldn't understand German. In reality, by the time she was 8 years old, she had already mastered 6 foreign languages fluently. Thus, his feigned affection and duplicity were utterly transparent before her. Suddenly, Ru Lin felt that liking Zane Pei was utterly meaningless. After closing the door tightly, Ru Lin dialed a phone number. Teacher, in half a month, I'm willing to go abroad with you. The day she accompanied her teacher abroad happened to be her wedding day with Zane Pei. If he enjoyed acting and belittling others' sincerity, then she would play along with him. She was determined to see just how surprised he would be when, at their wedding half a month later, he discovered she had fled the ceremony. The Pei family's background was unique, and its members were forbidden from traveling abroad in this lifetime. She and Zane Pei were destined to walk separate paths, he toward the south, she toward the north. After hanging up the phone, she turned her head and caught sight of the photo on the nightstand, the one where Zane Pei had secretly kissed her. Thinking of him kissing Mira Qin intimately in the private room, unable to tear themselves apart, she suddenly found this photo particularly glaring. She frantically smashed the glass photo frame to pieces, but simply shattering the photo frame wasn't enough to vent her anger. Remembering the custom wedding dress Zane Pei had ordered for her and their wedding photos, which had been delivered just yesterday and placed in the side bedroom, she stormed in, shredded the expensive gown, and destroyed all the wedding photos. As she stepped out of the side room, she noticed the crystal ball on the low shelf beside her. This crystal ball was custom made last year for Zane Pei's birthday, ordered by her. Inside the sparkling, transparent crystal ball was a pair of deeply affectionate figures nestled together. Her and Zane Pei. Snowflakes fluttered down, landing on her and Zane Pei's heads, as if they were destined to grow old together once upon a time. Ru Lin dreamed of growing old with Zane Pei. But now, she no longer wants to grow old with him. She suddenly grabbed the crystal ball and smashed it to pieces. Not only the crystal ball, but everything she had given to Zane Pei. She dug them all out. What could be smashed was smashed, and what couldn't be, was simply thrown away. It was as if she had completely discarded the heart that once deeply loved Zane Pei, with no turning back. All this took quite some time and effort, and it wasn't until the early hours of the morning that Ru Lin had destroyed everything. After her bath, she quickly felt drowsy in her dazed state. Just as she was about to fall asleep, she suddenly felt a weight beside her. The next second, her skirt was pushed up, and Zane Pei's hand slipped inside. Wife Zane Pei had strong desires. They had just been intimate in the evening, and now he wanted it again. He flipped over and pinned her beneath him, his hands wreaking havoc while he kissed her deeply. His kiss was scorching yet tender, as if weaving an inescapable web of passion around her. Once, Ru Lin had particularly loved kissing him, losing herself in the intoxication, unable to break free. But now, remembering how eagerly he had rushed to the club to share a French kiss with Mira Qin, his fervent kisses and caresses only filled her with disgust. I have a stomachache and don't feel like doing it. Why aren't you feeling well? Hearing her say she wasn't feeling well, Zane Pei instantly became extremely nervous. He turned on the bedside lamp, gently held her in his arms, and with his warm hand, carefully massaged her stomach. Does this feel any better? Ru Lin didn't speak immediately. She just raised her face and stared at him blankly. His thin lips were tightly pressed together, and his beautiful peach blossom eyes were filled with nothing but concern and heartache for her, as if he truly loved her so much. But a man's unwavering devotion can be acted out. He exhausted his acting skills to weave a beautiful dream for her, only to seek revenge and push her into an abyss of eternal suffering. Because she chose to play along, she didn't push him away. She lowered her eyelids slightly, concealing all emotions in her eyes, and said softly, "Much better. I'm tired and want to sleep." "All right, I'll sleep." Holding my wife, Zane Pei possessively wrapped his arms around her, about to turn off the lights when his phone notification chimed. The message was from a WeChat contact he had saved as German client. Previously, this German client had frequently messaged him. She assumed it was a work-related contact and never gave it much thought, nor had she ever checked his phone. But tonight, she vaguely sensed something and still glanced at his phone screen. He usually communicated with the German client in German. As soon as she lowered her gaze, she saw the German message from the German client. "Brother Pei, didn't you want to see me in sexy outfits? The little cat-made costume I bought online has arrived, complete with a cat tail. Will you come over to keep me company tonight?" Because Zane Pei thought she didn't understand German, he didn't deliberately hide the messages from the German client when reading them in front of her. His Adam's apple bobbed as he quickly typed in German, "Get dressed and wait for me outside. I want to try it in the car tonight." After replying, he glanced at Ru Lin with reluctant longing. "There's an issue with the company's business in Germany. I need to go to the office. Honey, go to bed early. Tomorrow morning, I'll buy you your favorite strawberry cake." Ru Lin nodded slightly, wrapping herself tightly in the blanket, looking as if she was ready to obediently go to sleep. After Zane Pei drove away, she no longer felt the slightest bit sleepy. She quickly got dressed, got out of bed, and followed him in her car. She knew that the German client was most likely Mira Qin, but she still wanted to confirm it once more, to make herself completely give up. Soon, Zane Pei's car came to a stop outside a villa. Mira Qin had already been waiting outside, wearing a cat ear headband. The fabric of her catgirl outfit was so thin that Ru Lin felt embarrassed just looking at it. Seeing Zane Pei, a faint blush instantly appeared on Mira Qin's innocent face. "Brother Pei, it's my first time dressing like this. It feels so strange." "You look beautiful." Zane Pei wickedly pulled her into his embrace, suddenly cupping the back of her head before urgently capturing her red lips. His car was parked not far away. Soon, he carried Mira Qin into his car. His eyes were solely fixed on Mira Qin, completely oblivious to Ru Lin standing nearby. Ru Lin stood there numbly, watching him and Mira Qin cling to each other, unwilling to part, watching him urgently help Mira Qin into the car, her heart wrenching in agony. The night breeze carried Mira Qin's coquettish voice to her ears. "Brother Pei, do you like me more? Or do you like Sister Ru Lin more?" After half a minute, Ru Lin finally heard his derisive laugh, laced with unmistakable coldness. "She's just a plaything for amusement. How could she ever compare to you, a plaything for amusement? The sharp pain in her chest made Ru Lin almost unable to breathe, yet, clutching her heart as if being slowly sliced by a blunt knife, Ru Lin smiled. She couldn't help but recall the scene a month ago when, on a whim, she had cooked and accidentally cut her hand. It was just a minor injury, yet he held her hand, his eyes red with heartache, blaming himself over and over, saying he shouldn't have let her cook. She felt both sweetness and helplessness, saying the cut was shallow and just needed a little iodine, that he didn't need to be so nervous, but he held her tightly in his arms, overwhelmed with emotion, saying he couldn't help it, who told Ru she was the most precious treasure of his life, and foolishly, she believed she truly was his most cherished treasure, foolishly thinking to entrust her entire next life to him. Only tonight did she finally realize that Ru Lin was never the most precious treasure in Zhang Pei's heart, but merely a plaything for amusement. The more Ru Lin thought about it, the more absurd it seemed. She laughed until tears poured down like rain, her heart utterly shattered. In the end, the heart died and turned to ashes. After leaving from here, Ru Lin did not return to the marital home she shared with Zhang Pei. She simply drove aimlessly, circling around the empty streets again and again, from the spread of night to the faint light of dawn, from the silence of all things to the hustle and bustle of traffic. When the sky was fully bright, she drove straight to the hospital. Yesterday, she just found out she was pregnant. Originally, she wanted to give Zhang Pei a surprise, but today, she went to the hospital for an abortion procedure. Her scheduled time was 10 a.m. Waiting in the corridor for the abortion, she kept telling herself that this child, from the moment of birth, was destined never to have a complete family or a father's love. It was especially unfair to him, but when she actually stood outside the abortion room, she found herself unable to enter. She truly couldn't bear to part with this child. Ru Lin, hearing the doctor call her name again, she could no longer stay there. Turning around, she ran forward like mad. Darling, she never expected to run into Zhang Pei and Mira Qin here. Zhang Pei was originally holding Mira Qin's hand tightly, but upon seeing her, he quickly let go. His handsome face, usually brimming with recklessness, was now unusually filled with panic, especially when Ru Lin's gaze fell on the pregnancy test report in Mira Qin's hand. He became even more flustered. However, as a seasoned tycoon who had navigated the business world with ease, he soon regained his composure. He stepped forward, affectionately and concernedly holding Ru Lin's hand, his deep dark eyes filled with nothing but care and anxiety for her. Honey, why are you at the hospital? Are you feeling unwell somewhere? Noticing Ru Lin's gaze still fixed on the pregnancy test report in Mira Qin's hand, he quickly explained, Honey, this is Mira Qin. You should remember her. She's the young girl you saved a year ago. I saw her boyfriend hitting her on my way home. Remembering that you once saved her, I was afraid you'd worry, so I brought her to the hospital. I never expected she was actually pregnant. She's already pregnant, and her boyfriend still hit her. That scumbag is really despicable. Ru Lin naturally remembered Mira Qin. She also remembered how a year ago, Mira Qin was bullied by two thugs, and she had stepped in bravely to save her. She saw the little girl wearing shoes with holes in them and felt sorry for her, so she transferred 20,000 yuan to her, hoping she could live a better life in the future. At the time, Mira Qin thanked her profusely, saying that once she graduated and earned money, she would definitely repay her. She never expected Mira Qin to repay her, but she also never imagined that the girl she had helped would betray her and climb into her fiancé's bed. Honey, why aren't you saying anything? What exactly is bothering you? Seeing Ru Lin standing frozen in place as if she had lost her soul, Zhang Pei grew so anxious that he simply scooped her up in his arms. Honey, are you feeling really unwell? Don't be afraid. I'll call the doctor right now to give you a thorough checkup. Ru Lin still didn't speak immediately. She lifted her face and stared fixedly at Zhang Pei. Zhang Pei is the sole heir of the wealthy and influential Pei family. By the age of 20, he had already taken over the Pei Corporation. In the business world, he wields an iron fist, earning him the reputation of a ruthless and merciless living llama. In the eyes of many, the world says he is cold by nature, indifferent and unfeeling, yet in her presence, he has always been vibrant and deeply affectionate. Even if he got Mira Qin pregnant with his child, holding her so tightly in his arms, the adoration in his eyes still sparkled like stars, as if she were the only one in his world. She tried to discern any pretense in his gaze, to catch a glimpse of insincerity, yet she found none. With such impeccable acting skills, it's truly a shame he didn't become an award-winning actor. Wife, can you say something to me? Don't scare me like this. Okay, I'm fine. Ru Lin half lowered her eyelids, playing along with his act. This is the obstetrics and gynecology department. What else could I possibly be here for? Hearing her words, Zane Pei's strikingly beautiful peach blossom eyes instantly brightened as if they contained an entire dazzling galaxy. Darling, Ru Lin didn't let him continue guessing, cutting him off directly. It's not me. I came to the hospital to accompany my cousin for her prenatal checkup. A flicker of disappointment quickly flashed in Zane Pei's eyes. He realized he actually longed for a child who carried both his and Ru Lin's blood. My cousin went for an ultrasound and will be out in a while. You should take the little girl back first. I'm here to keep you company. Mira Qin isn't a child anymore. She can go back by herself. Zane Pei tightly held her hand, reluctant to let go. She urged him several more times before he finally agreed to escort Mira Qin back first. After he accompanied Mira Qin downstairs, Ru Lin couldn't help but stand by the window. By the time she looked down, Zane Pei and Mira Qin had already reached the ground floor, unlike in her presence, where they maintained a clear boundary as if they were strangers. Downstairs at the outpatient department, Mira Qin nestled softly in his arms, acting coquettishly. From time to time, she would grab his hand and press it against her lower abdomen. Whatever he said must have embarrassed her, as her face turned red, and she playfully pounded his chest with her small fists. Their playful banter soon led to another kiss. Completely oblivious to the world around them, Ru Lin didn't continue watching. She had just turned around when she received a message from Mira Qin. Sister Ru Lin, you probably guessed it. The child in my belly is Brother Pei's. Do you know why I came to the hospital today? Brother Pei was too wild with me last night, and I started bleeding. Brother Pei said that being with an old woman like you, as lifeless as a dead fish, is utterly boring. He prefers lively young girls like me. He'd rather die on me. Ru Lin had long known that Zane Pei didn't love her, and she had witnessed his infidelity with her own eyes. Yet, upon receiving Mira Qin's provocative message and recalling how he favored Mira Qin, the pain in her heart still lingered. It was like a knife plunged into her chest. Even when pulled out, the ache remained. How laughable. At just 24, she had already become the old woman in Mira Qin's words. However, compared to 18-year-old girls, tender as flower buds, she was indeed no longer young. She directly replied to Mira Qin, then I wish you never turn 24. After sending this message, she didn't look at her phone again but turned back to the abortion room. Just moments ago, she had genuinely considered keeping this child, but now, she has changed her mind. Lying on the cold operating table, she couldn't help but recall that night 3 years ago when she gave herself to Zane Pei. He kissed her with near reverence. They had even talked about having children. He said she's still too young now, and he can't bear to let her get pregnant in a few years. He wants her to have a little baby for him, preferably a daughter as smart and beautiful as her. In this life, he wanted only her. The mother of Zane Pei's child could only be Ru Lin. Yet while he showered her with vows as vast as the sea, he refused to give her even a shred of sincerity. He broke his promises and betrayed her unwavering devotion. So, she stopped giving him little babies. When she had the miscarriage, she was given anesthesia and felt no pain, but she could sense the little life slipping away, could feel her belly becoming so very empty. It was as if her heart had suddenly emptied. Zane Pei cherished the baby in Mira Qin's belly so much that Ru Lin thought he would stay by Mira Qin's side to accompany her. Little did she know, he was actually in their marital home. She hadn't allowed the servants to clean the room, leaving the master bedroom floor in complete disarray. With red-rimmed eyes, he knelt halfway on the ground, trying to piece together the shattered glass photo frame, but after several attempts, he realized it was all in vain. Darling, seeing her enter, he carefully set down the broken pieces in his hands and stepped forward to pull her tightly into his embrace. His voice, unusually heavy with anxiety, trembled as he asked, how did our photo get broken? Our wedding will go smoothly, won't it? Ru Lin froze for a brief moment. Zane Pei was determined to escape the marriage and seek revenge on her, but she never expected him to show such a nervous expression. She could only say that his acting skills had improved yet again. Without exposing his pretense, she crouched down slightly, gently cupped his face, and played along with his act. I accidentally broke the photo together. Fortunately, we have the negatives. I've already reordered the display stand. We've prepared for our wedding for so long, and we love each other so much. How could it not go smoothly? Yes, our wedding will definitely go smoothly. Zane Pei held her tightly, with such force as if he wanted to crush her into his very being. It was as if he truly loved her deeply. Honey, you seem to have lost weight. He was already holding her tightly, yet his arms continued to tighten bit by bit. After holding her for a long while, he reluctantly let go and asked, haven't you been eating well lately? What would you like for lunch? I'll cook something delicious for you. Before Ru Lin could respond, his phone notification abruptly chimed. Another message from the German client. Brother Pei, I'm feeling a bit unwell. Could you come keep me company? Zane Pei slightly furrowed his brows and replied with a dark expression, I don't have time today. are you with Sister Rulin? Have you really fallen in love with Sister Rulin? He typed quickly, as if trying to cover up. How could that be possible? Just looking at her makes me sick. There's no way I could love her. I'll go accompany you right now. Just looking at her makes me sick. Rulin curled her lips mockingly. How pitiful he must feel, noticing Rulin staring intently at his phone screen. Zane Pei's eyes flickered with a trace of unease, but remembering that Rulin, as a dance student, knew no German at all, he quickly regained his usual composure and confidence. Darling, there's another issue with the business in Germany. I need to go to the company and won't be able to make lunch for you. I'll definitely come back early tonight and cook something delicious for you, my dear. Rulin smiled, her half-lowered eyelids concealing the cold mockery in her eyes. Alright, make me a strawberry cake tonight. Zane Pei hugged her tightly once more before reluctantly leaving. Turning back to look at her every few steps, he had no idea that almost as soon as he drove away, Rulin received a phone call. After confirming that Zane Pei was cheating with Mira Chin, Rulin had someone investigate Mira Chin. Interestingly enough, half a year ago, Mira Chin had already moved into the villa Zane Pei gifted her, but just 2 months ago, she even confessed her feelings to Remy Chen, the poor but handsome school heartthrob she had secretly admired for years. However, the confession failed clearly. Mira Chin wants both men. Remy Chen is truly quite poor. He lives with his elderly grandmother, who was recently involved in a severe car accident. The driver fled the scene, leaving the heavy burden of raising funds for her surgery entirely on his shoulders. It is said that the surgery costs 500,000, and if the operation cannot be performed within a week, his grandmother won't survive. Mira Chin is the impoverished student sponsored by Zane Pei. Seeing how enthusiastically he supported Mira Chin, Rulin also decided to sponsor Remy Chen. Remy Chen's grandmother's surgery was very successful, and now, Remy Chen has been brought to her spacious downtown apartment, waiting to meet her. Coincidentally, she was quite interested in Remy Chen as well. After hanging up the phone, she drove straight to her downtown residence. She had seen photos of Remy Chen before. In the photos, the young man had a jade-like, cool demeanor, standing tall like a resilient pine tree, his face so handsome it seemed meticulously carved. She thought, with beauty filters being so prevalent these days, the photos must have been enhanced, and the real Remy Chen would surely be plainer than in the pictures. She never imagined that in person, he would be even more striking than in the photos, even comparable to Zane Pei's face, which has been praised by countless media as divine beauty. Miss, thank you for saving my grandmother. Upon seeing her, Remy Chen thanked her with neither servility nor arrogance, showing no signs of being a kept man, neither fawning nor cynical. Rulin couldn't help but take another glance at him. She didn't come today to hear his thanks. She asked directly, do you know how to kiss? Remy Chen blushed instantly. His pale ears quickly flushed crimson, like the rosy clouds at dusk staining flawless white jade. Clearly, the reserved and introverted young man hadn't expected Rulin to be so unrestrained and straightforward. Rulin also disliked forcing others. If you don't know how, forget it, I can find someone else. I do. Before she could finish her sentence, the young man, like a lone wolf awakened, stepped forward and, with restrained yet firm dominance, cupped the back of her head. Then, his perfectly curved thin lips pressed down. It made Rulin's gums ache. Completely unskilled and without any technique, Rulin seriously suspected this was his first kiss. Her gums ached again, and Rulin couldn't help but frown and ask, haven't you kissed anyone before? You, questioned by her about his skills, the youth's obsidian-like eyes barely contained emotions that surged into an impenetrable black hole. He abruptly deepened the kiss, inch by inch, as if determined to crush her crimson lips and devour them whole. His learning ability was truly impressive at first. When his teeth accidentally grazed her, Rulin found it uncomfortable, but later, she was kissed into a daze, her eyes glistening with desire. The young man's aura was as fresh and sweet as a spring breeze. His large hands with distinct knuckles were lean yet exuded strength. When they touched Rulin, she was sent straight to the clouds from the very beginning. Sister, are you satisfied with me? At some point, his way of addressing her had changed from miss to sister. Rulin responded to his words with action. He raised his face, and she immediately stood on tiptoe, pressing him against the wall beside them. At the moment when his kiss made her tremble all over, Rulin couldn't help but think, no wonder men are so fond of youthful, beautiful bodies, such tender flesh. She liked it too, only, she had just had a miscarriage today, making many things inconvenient. After their passionate kiss, she still held his hand back. Not today, I just had an abortion. Sister, whether it was Rulin's illusion or not, she thought she saw a flash of heartache quickly pass through his eyes. He didn't kiss her further, but instead carefully embraced her in his arms. Sister, I'll take good care of you. Hearing her stomach growl, he gently released her. I'll cook you some red date porridge. When my neighbor's wife had a miscarriage, my grandmother used to make her red date porridge. Ru Lin wanted to say it wasn't necessary, she didn't often stay here, so there were no ingredients in the fridge. However, the young man was quick to act. Seeing her kitchen was empty, he immediately went to the supermarket downstairs and returned with bags of groceries. Not only did she drink the red date porridge, but she also enjoyed several hot dishes that were a feast for the eyes, nose, and palate. In the evening, she even got to savor the strawberry cake she had been longing for. As the night grew darker, Remy Chen massaged her belly and then kissed her until she was almost breathless like a fish out of water. She lay weakly beneath him, completely drained of energy just as she was about to tell him to stop kissing her so wildly. Zane Pei unexpectedly called, "Honey, the issues with this collaboration are quite troublesome. I have to make an overnight trip to Haicheng. Don't wait up for me. Get some rest early." Zane Pei spoke to her, his voice as magnetic, pleasant, patient, and doting as ever. Yet Ru Lin felt an inexplicable chill in her heart. Busy with work? Is he busy accompanying his little girl? However, she didn't expose his pretense. She tenderly cared for him, saying, "Don't overwork yourself. I'll remember to miss you." Ru Lin was infatuated with youthful, beautiful flesh, and it wasn't until late the next night that she returned to the marital home she shared with Zane Pei. Last night, Remy Chen had set her phone to silent, and during the time she spent entangled with him, she hadn't bothered to check her phone. Only after entering the living room did she notice that Mira Qin had sent her several video clips. Amidst the blooming fireworks, she and Zane Pei were seen kissing passionately, their lips lingering under the starlight and moonlight. They indulged in intimate acts at the amusement park. The message she sent her was utterly provocative. "Sister Ru Lin, has Brother Pei ever set off fireworks for you? Has he ever rented out an entire amusement park for you? Do you know how many times Brother Pei took me at the amusement park last night? A woman unloved is truly pitiable. Sister Ru Lin, you're so pathetic." Mira Qin sent her many more messages afterward, but Ru Lin didn't continue reading. Her thoughts couldn't help but drift far, far away. Zane Pei had once rented out an amusement park and set off fireworks for her all night. Amidst the dazzling display, he kissed her deeply, his emotions overwhelming, whispering endless vows. "Darling, in this lifetime, I'll only set off fireworks for you. Darling, in this lifetime, I'll only love you till death do us part." Once, she foolishly took it to heart, truly believing they could have a love stronger than gold, with no regrets in this life. What a pity, she was never Zane Pei's one and only, so she let him go. "Darling." Ru Lin had just gone upstairs when Zane Pei rushed out of the side bedroom, his face deathly pale. His unrestrained peach blossom eyes, usually so carefree, were now unusually tinged with fragility and panic. With crimson-tinged eyes, he stared unblinkingly at Ru Lin, his voice even trembling slightly. "Why are all our wedding photos ruined? The wedding dress is torn to pieces too. Darling, don't you want to marry me anymore?" Oh, he had seen everything. Actually, he hadn't seen everything yet. If he opened the wardrobe, he would find it was also in complete disarray. All the gifts he had given her, everything she had made for him with her own hands, she had utterly destroyed them and thrown them into the wardrobe. Seeing her remain silent, standing there woodenly, the unease in his eyes grew even heavier. "Darling, what's really wrong with you? Are you leaving me?" Ru Lin held him without sincerity. How could that be? He carried the scent of Mira Qin's perfume on him. She frowned tightly, overwhelmed by the strong floral fragrance, yet she mustered all her acting skills to feign affection and coax him. "The wedding photos made me look so chubby. Maybe I've really gained weight recently. Yesterday, when I tried on the wedding dress, it felt so tight." In a fit of anger, I cut up the wedding dress, but right after, I regretted it. I've already asked a friend to rush a new dress for me, and I'll have the wedding photos retouched too. Hearing her words, he let out a slight sigh of relief, yet the unease deep in his heart simply wouldn't fade. He held her tightly, burying his face in the crook of her neck. "Wife, tell me you'll never leave me." Ru Lin numbly humored him. "Zane, I love you. I'll never leave you. By the way, this is my wedding gift for you." As she spoke, Ru Lin placed an exquisitely wrapped gift box into his hands. Seeing the gift box, Zane Pei's eyes instantly lit up, and he eagerly tried to open it. Ru Lin stopped him. "Wait until our wedding day to open it. This is my surprise for you, and if you open it now, it won't be a surprise anymore." Inside this gift box lies her miscarriage record. They once had a child, but it vanished on the day he accompanied Mira Qin for a prenatal checkup. This is something he ought to know. "All right, I'll open it on our wedding day." Zane Pei clung to Ru Lin with near obsession, murmuring over and over, Our wedding will proceed smoothly, we'll be together forever. Ru Lin obediently pressed her face against his chest, her bright and beautiful little face filled with cold mockery. In the world of adults, most emotions are feigned, where is there any such thing as forever? Perhaps addicted to his acting skills. After that day, Zhang Pei no longer stayed out all night apart from work. He couldn't bear to be apart from Ru Lin for even a moment. In the blink of an eye, it was the eve of his wedding with Ru Lin. His original plan was to take a private jet tonight with Zhou Shu and others to the island he had previously purchased, making Ru Lin the laughingstock of the entire capital by exposing her disgraceful behavior at tomorrow's wedding. Yet inexplicably, as the wedding date drew nearer, his thoughts of fleeing the ceremony grew fainter. In fact, he had even begun to fear that his wedding with Ru Lin might not proceed smoothly. Darling, we're getting married tomorrow. I'm so happy. On the luxurious bed, Zhang Pei tightly embraced Ru Lin. Just as he was about to lean in for a deep kiss, his phone rang urgently. Seeing the caller ID showing it was a German client, a struggle quickly flashed in his eyes. After freezing for a moment, he still answered the call. Brother Pei, save me, there are several thugs following me. The next second, it seemed someone snatched Mira Qin's phone, and the call was abruptly hung up. Zhang Pei's expression completely changed. Honey, there's a problem with the company's order to Germany, I need to go out. Fearing something might happen to Mira Qin, he didn't dare delay for a second. After saying this, he didn't even bother to put on his coat and rushed out of the master bedroom. Ru Lin's peach blossom eyes were utterly lifeless, and in the end, she let out a cold, self-mocking laugh. His business in Germany must be really busy, just as she had expected. It didn't take long before she came across the WeChat post Mira Qin had shared, visible only to her. No matter when, as long as I want, he will be by my side. The accompanying photo shows a side view of her and Zhang Pei sharing a passionate kiss. Ru Lin gave it a like, took a screenshot, then immediately pulled out the suitcase she had already prepared and quickly walked out of the master bedroom. The teacher had bought a flight ticket for 2 a.m. Originally, Zhang Pei had been clinging to her, and she was worried it would be hard to slip away tonight. Mira Qin's little trick actually worked in her favor. Upon arriving at the airport, she called her best friend to discuss the arrangements for tomorrow's wedding. Then, she removed her phone card, snapped it in half, threw it away, and walked step by step into the airport, never looking back. Brother Pei, when are we heading to the island? After Zhang Pei sent Mira Qin home, he was called by his friends, including Zhou Shu, to a private room for drinks. These people thrived on excitement and took pleasure in teasing others. The thought of Zhang Pei disappearing without a trace at tomorrow's wedding, leaving Ru Lin to be mocked and scorned by all the guests, thrilled them beyond measure. Zhou Shu took a sip of wine, his face flushed with excitement. I prepared several women in advance, some even virgins, guaranteed to your liking. Brother Pei, by the way, Pei, since the whole world will know by tomorrow that you dumped Ru Lin, does that mean I can sleep with her tomorrow night? As soon as Zhou Shu spoke up, Zhang Pei's other friends eagerly chimed in, count me in too. Last night, I even dreamed about Ru Lin. I dreamed I was, well, let's just say I had to change my sheets in the middle of the night. I've also dreamed about Ru Lin. That figure of hers is just perfect. Tomorrow night, I'm definitely going to have her at least 7 times. Shuizi, I'm with you. Like I said before, with Ru Lin's face, I could go 10 times in one night. Zhang Pei's friends are all a wild bunch. They don't hold back on dirty jokes in their daily banter. Moreover, they knew that Zhang Pei was only getting close to Ru Lin to seek revenge, harboring not an ounce of sincerity toward her, merely toying with her emotions, eager to curry favor with Zhang Pei. They spoke of Ru Lin with even greater disdain. In the past, Zhang Pei constantly convinced himself that he didn't love Ru Lin. His approach to her was nothing more than a charade. So, to prove he truly didn't care about Ru Lin, he never stopped his so-called friends from belittling her, even though he couldn't suppress the murderous rage boiling inside him. But later, it became increasingly difficult for him to deceive himself. He didn't want to admit it, but that was the truth. As early as 6 years ago, when he first met Ru Lin, his heartbeat had already lost its rhythm. To this day, he still can't forget the peerless radiance of the girl in a bright red dress, dancing gracefully at the center of the stage. That one glance, he could no longer look away, a glance that felt like eternity. All right, tomorrow night. Zhao Feng, you strip her clothes off, you take the top, I'll take the bang. Hearing Zhou Shu and the others' words grow increasingly vulgar, Zhang Pei could no longer hold back. He grabbed the unopened bottle of white liquor in front of him and hurled it fiercely at Zhou Shu. The glass bottle shattered at Zhou Shu's feet, the liquor mixing with broken shards and splashing onto him, instantly silencing him in fright. The others in the private room were also as silent as cicadas in winter. They looked at each other, but for a moment, None dared to speak. I won't run away from the wedding tomorrow. In the silence, they heard Zane Pei's icy yet relieved voice. From now on, show some respect to my wife. If I ever hear any of you coveting her again, even if you're my closest brothers, I won't go easy on you. Brother Pei, are you really not planning to run away from the wedding anymore? Zhou Shu trembled a few more times before finally speaking up. You're not planning to take revenge on Ru Lin anymore. Tomorrow, you all better behave as groomsmen. If anyone dares to reveal that I once planned to run away from the wedding, I, Zane Pei, will never forgive them. Zhou Shu actually wanted to ask if he had genuinely fallen for Ru Lin while pretending to be in love, but he wasn't foolish. Seeing how Zane Pei was defending Ru Lin, even without asking, he knew Brother Pei was truly smitten. While their families were indeed wealthy, their influence was nowhere near that of the Pei family. Their businesses still relied on the Pei group for survival. Now that Zane Pei had clearly developed feelings for Ru Lin, they wouldn't dare to continue looking down on her. Zhao Feng even changed his tone directly. Brother Pei, you plan to settle down with your wife. Then what about Mira Qin? I heard she's pregnant. I'll give her a sum of money and arrange for her to go abroad. At the mention of Mira Qin, Zane Pei's eyes turned cold, devoid of any warmth, thinking about tomorrow, when Ru Lin would become his bride. A hint of warmth slowly surfaced in his cold, deep eyes. Everyone better perform well tomorrow. Whoever dares to ruin my wedding and make my wife unhappy, I'll kill them. Zane Pei spent quite a bit of time with Mira Qin tonight, and by the time he left the private room, it was already past 3 a.m. He thought Ru Lin would be sound asleep in bed, but to his surprise, when he returned to the bridal suite, Ru Lin wasn't in bed at all. Wife, facing the empty bed before him, Zane Pei was instantly overwhelmed with panic. That familiar unease swallowed his heart whole, making even a single breath an ordeal. He quickly grabbed his phone, desperate to call Ru Lin to confirm she would never leave him and that their wedding tomorrow would proceed without a hitch, when he noticed a note pressed on the nightstand. Zane, the wedding dress I had a friend custom make for me is ready. I'll go to the hotel to get ready first. Don't come peeking at the wedding. I want to give you a surprise. After reading this note, his anxious heart finally settled down. So, she went out late at night to get ready at the hotel. He stepped forward, grabbed the car keys, and wanted to go to the hotel to find her. However, considering she wanted to surprise him, she surely wouldn't want him to see her in her wedding dress and full bridal attire now. So, he suppressed the urge to meet her and decided to wait until the wedding the next day to see her. Early in the morning, Zane Pei also went to the hotel. His subordinates had already delivered the custom-tailored suit made by the master to the hotel. With his striking looks and tall, upright figure, wearing the suit handcrafted by the master only enhanced his elegance and unparalleled handsomeness. After changing his clothes, he went to the wedding venue accompanied by several groomsmen, eagerly awaiting his bride. He thought that since today was their wedding day, Ru Lin must be especially excited and would arrive early at the venue, just like him. But after waiting for a long time at the wedding venue, she still hadn't appeared. He told himself that it must be because girls love to look beautiful and needed more time for makeup. He waited a little longer for her. However, even when the auspicious time for the wedding arrived, she still hadn't shown up. Brother Pei, what's going on with your wife? Zhou Shu and the others grew impatient and couldn't help but say, how could she be late on such an important day? Shall we go to the dressing room and hurry your sister-in-law along? I'll go check. Zane Pei was worried Ru Lin might be feeling unwell and went to look for her himself. Brother Pei, it's my first time wearing this kind of outfit. It feels so strange, beautiful. No sooner had he lifted his foot than he heard his own voice and Mira Qin's. Suddenly realizing something, he abruptly raised his head and saw, on the previously silent large LCD screen, his own face and Mira Qin's. Mira Qin was dressed in a cat-themed lingerie, her eyes filled with anticipation and eagerness as she gazed at him. After saying this, he playfully tugged the cat tail behind her, then suddenly cupped the back of her head and kissed her urgently. He and Mira Qin hadn't even made it to the car before her provocative outfit was already in complete disarray. In the moment of their intimacy, Mira Qin gasped and asked him, Brother Pei, do you like me more, or do you prefer Sister Ru Lin? Hearing Mira Qin's words, Zane Pei's face instantly turned as pale as paper. He couldn't help but recall that night in the car and the absurdity between him and Mira Qin. Thinking of his response that night, the color drained completely from his face. Sure enough, nearly half a minute later, he heard his own voice say, just a plaything for amusement. How could it compare to you? Before he could recover from the shock and pain, he saw the scrolling messages on the LCD screen. They were provocative messages from Mira Qin to Ru Lin. Sister Ru Lin, you must have guessed it. The child in my belly is Brother Pei's. Brother Pei said that doing it with an old woman like you, as lifeless as a dead fish, is especially dull. He prefers lively young girls like me, he'd rather die on me. These messages flashed briefly across the LCD screen. Next, there was a video of him passionately kissing Mira Chin amidst the fireworks display. The subsequent videos were even more explosive, even with the key parts blurred. It was clear that he and Mira Chin were entangled in ambiguous, wild, and frenzied moments at the amusement park. Following these videos were provocative messages sent to her by Mira Chin. Even last night, Mira Chin posted a WeChat moment visible only to her to provoke her. That bitch Mira Chin, how dare she, who in the vast capital city doesn't know that young Master Pei is madly in love with Ru Lin. All the guests at the scene thought today would be a grand wedding, sincerely wishing the happy couple a lifetime of love and harmony. Who would have thought that such a farce would be displayed on a large LCD screen? The crowd erupted in an uproar. What's going on? Is young Master Pei cheating? He loves Miss Lin so much. How could he cheat? Not just cheating, young Master Pei even got that mistress pregnant with his child. Could it be that the other woman is actually Zane Pei's true love? I think I just heard him say that Miss Lin is nothing more than a plaything to him. Isn't Zane Pei just toying with Ru Lin's feelings? That's so despicable. Zane Pei paid no attention to the murmurs around him. He now desperately wants to see Ru Lin. He wants to tell her that in his heart, she was never just a plaything for amusement. From the very first moment he saw her, he had already uncontrollably fallen for her. He doesn't love Mira Chin, doesn't care about the child in her womb, he only wants to be with her. He didn't dare to delay for a moment, rushing toward the dressing room like a madman. Ru Lin's best friend, Su Yutong, lazily leaned against the dressing room door as if she had long anticipated Zane Pei's arrival. Not a trace of shock or confusion appeared on her strikingly beautiful face, nor did she stop Zane Pei, taking a few steps aside to let him charge into the dressing room. Darling, Zane Pei had mentally prepared himself for Ru Lin to scold him or hate him. Back then, when he slept with Mira Chin, he wanted to prove that Ru Lin wasn't the only one for him, but the truth proved that the one he truly loved and feared losing the most was only Ru Lin. He couldn't live without her, even if he had to kneel and beg. He hoped she would give him one last chance. He rushed over, having imagined countless possibilities, but never expected that Ru Lin wasn't even in the dressing room. In fact, the spacious dressing room didn't have a single trace of makeup or cosmetics meant for a bride. Staring at the empty vanity table, the panic and unease in his heart grew heavier. He turned around, swiftly dashed out of the dressing room, and tightly gripped Su Yutong's wrist. Where is my wife, Su Yutong? You've hidden her, haven't you? Where exactly have you hidden my wife? Facing his interrogation, Su Yutong showed not a trace of panic on her face. She curled her lips mockingly, and when she looked at him, her beautiful eyes were filled with sarcasm. Ru didn't tell me where she went. I just received a text message at 2 a.m. this morning, asking me to help her play a few videos. Zane Pei, Ru has no one to rely on. In her eyes, you're her family and the person she loves most. How dare you play with her feelings like this? How dare you let your mistress humiliate her like this? You, with your fickle heart and treacherous nature, don't deserve Ru. I never thought Mira Chin would dare to send her that kind of message. Zane Pei kept murmuring to himself. I wasn't toying with her feelings. I fell for her. I like her. I really, really like her. I can't live without her. Yes, she must have gone home. She's waiting for me to go back and apologize. I'll go home right now and apologize to her. Zane Pei suddenly released Su Yutong's wrist. His eyes bloodshot as he dashed frantically toward the hotel exit. Su Yutong shook her head with a cold smile. Ru Lin was a girl who couldn't tolerate the slightest speck in her eye. She truly hadn't told her where she went, but given Ru Lin's personality, since she was already completely disappointed in Zane Pei, how could she possibly wait for him in their marital home? However, she didn't stop Zane Pei, nor did she waste any more words on him. Belated affection is cheaper than grass. When Ru Lin loved him deeply, he freely belittled and toyed with her feelings. Now that he has broken her heart, she no longer wants him. Who does he think he's fooling with this act of undying devotion? She only hopes that Ru Lin can quickly move past the shadow left by that scumbag and embrace a brighter, happier life. Zane Pei raced back at full speed and soon arrived at the marital home he shared with Ru Lin. On the way, he tried calling Ru Lin several times but couldn't get through. He vaguely sensed something, but he refused to accept it. He still clung to the faint hope of finding her in their wedding home. She wasn't in the master bedroom either. He asked the servants, but they all said they hadn't seen her. Yes, not long ago, she had even given him a wedding gift, saying she wanted to surprise him. She cared about him, and he would certainly not abandon her. That gift box was carefully locked away by him in the bedside drawer. He quickly opened the bedside drawer and took out that gift box. Clutching the exquisite gift box tightly, as if grasping the last lifeline, He hurriedly opened it with trembling fingers. He hoped that she would leave a few words in this gift box. He saw a note, but on that note, there was no blame, no complaint, no reluctance, nor any mention of where she had gone. Just 5 coldly written words. I am fluent in German. Is she fluent in German? Zane Pei's mind exploded with a bang. He couldn't help but recall the phone call he had answered by the crystal piano half a month ago. He had thought she didn't understand German, so he had spoken freely with his friends about his plan to escape the wedding. He said he got close to her just to take revenge on her deceased elder brother. He said he only wanted to toy with her, to see her humiliated. Even worse, his gang of despicable friends lewdly coveted her body, talking about wanting her 7 or 8 times in one night, or even several of them taking turns with her, and he chose to tolerate it. He could tell she liked him unreservedly. She loved him with all her heart, but he only treated her as a plaything, even allowing his friends to belittle her. How heartbroken and desperate must she have been at that time. Yet back then, she didn't confront him, didn't cry or make a scene. She was eerily quiet at the time. He didn't know she spoke German, so naturally, he didn't think much of it. Now, recalling the expression on her face back then, it struck him, it was the unsettling calm of a heart that had already died. Was it from that moment that she had already decided to leave him? That night, Mira Chin dressed as a cat girl to please him, but her gaze remained fixed on his phone screen. What was she thinking at that time? She must have deeply regretted ever loving Zane Pei, didn't she? Yes. Later on, he even sent messages to Mira Chin right in front of her. He said in German that he could never love her, that just looking at her made him sick. How utterly disappointed must she have been in him, to leave without even saying goodbye. What on earth has he done? Beneath this note, there was another sheet of paper pressed underneath. Noticing this paper, a glimmer of hope flashed in his pained, lifeless eyes. He quickly unfolded the paper, hoping to find some trace of her lingering affection or reluctance toward him, but there was none. He did see a few large characters, abortion record form. He recognized every single one of these characters, yet somehow, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't comprehend the meaning they formed when put together. Or perhaps, he dared not comprehend the meaning of those words. His lips trembled in agony, and his fingers shook so violently that he could barely hold on to the flimsy abortion record. In the end, he lowered his gaze and continued to read the abortion record. The abortion record bore a date. That day, he accompanied Mira Chin to the hospital for her prenatal checkup and even ran into her in the obstetrics and gynecology department. He thought she was there to accompany her cousin for a prenatal checkup. Only now did he finally understand, she wasn't accompanying anyone for a checkup that day. She had gone to have an abortion. How could she not want their child? After learning about this, Zane Pei was practically going insane. Without even caring that he could barely hold the car keys steady, he rushed to the hospital by car. He was desperate to confirm that the abortion record was fake. It must have been deliberately forged by her to punish him and make him suffer. Before long, he arrived at the hospital's obstetrics and gynecology department. Doctor, please take a look. This abortion record is fake, isn't it? Spotting a doctor standing by the door of the abortion room, he rushed forward, trembling fingers gripping her wrist as he pressed urgently for answers. Coincidentally, the doctor standing outside the abortion room happened to be the very one who had performed Ru Lin's surgery that day. She performs numerous abortion procedures every day, so theoretically, it's impossible for her to remember every patient. But Ru Lin was exceptionally beautiful, stunningly so, the kind of beauty that leaves a lasting impression. That day, after calling her number, Ru Lin even ran away and only returned after some time, which made her stand out in her memory. She glanced at the abortion record sheet in Zane Pei's hand and answered truthfully, "This is indeed our hospital's abortion record. Ru Lin, I remember her. Yes, I think I saw you that day too." She had scheduled an abortion, but when it was her turn, she changed her mind. "But after she spoke with you in the hallway for a few words, somehow, she turned back again. I was afraid she might regret it, so I tried to persuade her, but she was very determined and didn't want to keep the child." "What exactly did you say to her? Why did she suddenly become so resolute? That child is already 2 months old, and now to abort it. Sigh, what a pity." Whatever the female doctor behind him said next, Zane Pei seemed unable to hear at this moment. His mind was completely filled with the words the doctor had just spoken. Ru Lin had actually regretted it. She had originally intended to keep that child, but after running into him and Mira Chin in the hospital hallway, she no longer wanted the child. At that time, she had clearly already guessed that the child Mira Chin was carrying was his. Yes, Mira Chin even deliberately sent messages to provoke her. His Ru, with eyes that couldn't tolerate a single grain of sand. How could she possibly keep their flesh and blood after learning of his infidelity and that he'd gotten another woman pregnant with his child? It was he who caused the death of their child. In truth, She had been giving him chances all along, yet he squandered opportunity after opportunity, shattered her heart, lost her, and lost their child as well. Zane Pei had no idea how he made it back to the bridal chamber after Ru Lin fled the wedding. He felt as if his soul had left his body. What remained was merely a numb, walking corpse to his near despair. He realized he loved Ru Lin far more than he had ever imagined. Unforgettable at first sight, falling in love at first sight later, deeply rooted in affection, unable to extricate oneself, yet still stubbornly refusing to admit it. He mobilized all his forces to search for her, but she wasn't in her downtown luxury apartment, nor at the Lin family's old residence. None of the hotels in the capital had any record of her stay. He contacted all her friends and classmates, but she wasn't staying with any of them either. It wasn't until evening that his assistant called to inform him they had reviewed the surveillance footage from outside the wedding venue and nearby roads, tracking her all the way to the airport. But for some reason, when they checked with the airlines, there was no record of her boarding any flight. The surveillance footage outside the airport was also retrieved by them after she entered the airport. She never came out again. She most likely has already left the country, but they don't know which specific country she went to. Receiving this call from his special assistant, Zane Pei felt as if his heart were being torn apart. The Pei family has a special background, so he couldn't go abroad, yet she chose to leave the country, clearly never wanting to see him again. He knew he had made a mistake, one that couldn't be undone, but he missed her so much, desperately, madly. He still had to find her, sitting on the edge of the master bedroom's large bed. He couldn't help but carefully place the gift box in his arms once more. Only after clutching the gift box tightly did he realize something very important. Not long ago, the photo of the two of them on the nightstand had shattered. She said she had already arranged for someone to remake the glass photo frame of that picture, but half a month has passed, and the photo still hasn't been placed on the bedside table. Clearly, her earlier claim about having the photo frame remade was just a way to brush him off. Their couple photo was deliberately broken by her after she became disappointed in him. She only wanted to destroy it, never to remake it. Yes, she even mentioned having their wedding photo remade. Thinking this, he quickly got up and rushed into the adjacent bedroom. Inside the bedroom, it was unusually clean. Not only were there no new wedding photos, but even the previous wedding photos and fragments of the wedding dress had been cleared away by the servants. Bending over in agony, he pressed hard on his chest, which felt as if it were being sliced apart, wishing for death rather than enduring such pain. After recovering for a while, he slowly straightened up and noticed that the low shelf was empty, and he remembered clearly that there used to be a crystal ball placed on this low shelf. That crystal ball was specially custom made by her. Inside the snow globe, there was a couple nestled together. The faces of that couple were customized based on their own images. When she gave him this crystal ball, she smiled brightly and joyfully. She said, "Zane, look quickly, snowflakes are falling on our heads. This proves we'll grow old together." She had said they would grow old together, so why was she ignoring him now? Where had their crystal ball gone? Had some careless servant hidden it from them? Zane Pei wanted to rush out and ask the servants where they had hidden their crystal ball, but as he dashed out, he accidentally bumped into a nearby sideboard. The cabinet door opened, and something slid out from inside. He realized something and suddenly felt afraid to look in that direction. After standing frozen for a long time, he finally lowered his gaze to the floor. It was the artificial snowflakes from the snow globe, along with shards of glass, that had slid out of the cabinet. Clearly, the glass ball was deliberately shattered. The pair of figures carved from crystal had also broken into countless pieces, beyond recognition. It was as if their relationship could never return to its original state. Not just the crystal ball she had given him at the beginning of this year on Valentine's Day, she personally knitted a scarf for him. The girl, who grew up pampered, was truly not skilled at handicrafts. To knit that scarf well, her fingertips were swollen from being pricked by the needles. When she gave him the scarf, seeing her red and swollen fingertips, his eyes welled up with heartache, and he repeatedly said, "Darling, please don't knit scarves anymore," and she nestled in his arms, coquettishly insisting that she must knit it. She also said that when a woman gives her boyfriend a scarf, the two can stay together for a lifetime. She wanted to be with him for a lifetime. Best of all, they would never part in the next life either. And now, the scarf she had painstakingly knitted for him, stitch by stitch, has been completely shredded by her, shredded without a trace of sentiment. Inside the side-lying wardrobe, it's also a complete mess. The spacious wardrobe is piled high with all sorts of things they had given each other. She destroyed all the handbags he gave her by cutting them up. Even the pillow with their photo printed on it was shredded into countless pieces by her. The jade bracelets and pendants were all smashed by her. As for what couldn't be shattered, it said she had someone sell them second-hand and donated the proceeds to impoverished mountain regions. When she loved him, she gave her all, holding nothing back. When she left, she did it cleanly, not even leaving him a single trace of longing. But he had no right to blame her because it was his lack of appreciation, his repeated trampling of her sincerity, that drove her away. She really doesn't want him anymore. The famous Pei family's young master got married, but at the wedding, the bride exposed his intimate photos with another woman and then ran away. Such news is truly sensational. However, the Pei family's influence is too great. Even though everyone is bursting with gossip, no one dares to take photos recklessly, let alone spread the news. Thus, this incident never made it online. Zhang Pei forbade Mira Qin from attending his and Ru Lin's wedding, so naturally, Mira Qin was unaware of what happened at the ceremony. She only heard that the wedding was cancelled last night. She pretended to be harassed by some troublemakers to lure Zhang Pei out, and then she pleaded with him. She told him she truly loved him. She and the child cannot live without him. She begged him not to marry Ru Lin. After all, it was he who had said before that he never loved Ru Lin, and this wedding was only meant to humiliate Ru Lin. Yet last night, he declared that no one would be allowed to disrupt his wedding with Ru Lin. He also said that in a few days, he would arrange for someone to send her abroad. As for the child in her womb, whether she wanted to keep it or not was entirely up to her. After all, he didn't care whether the child lived or died. He was determined to marry Ru Lin, and her heart ached as if pierced by 1,000 arrows. Now that she knew their wedding had been cancelled, she couldn't be happier. I heard he went back to the marital home he shared with Ru Lin on his own. Even though he had warned her not to appear near the marital home or affect Ru Lin's mood, she still went there eagerly to find him. Brother Pei. As soon as she got out of the car, she saw Zhang Pei, who looked utterly lifeless. She felt that his current appearance was somewhat unfamiliar in her eyes. Zhang Pei had always been carefree and dashing, full of vigor. It was the first time she had seen him in such a lifeless state. Her eyelid twitched. However, she didn't dwell on it and instead stepped forward to hug him tightly. As she held him firmly, the lifeless aura around Zhang Pei instantly turned into a piercing chill. The surging crimson in his eyes seemed to churn into a bloody hell, as if to drag one mercilessly into the abyss and tear them apart limb by limb. Little did he expect that just as he was about to settle scores with Mira Qin, she would deliver herself right to his doorstep. Brother Pei, our baby is acting up again. My stomach hurts so much. He's really being naughty to death. Mira Qin clung to him tightly, about to continue her coquetry, when she suddenly felt a sharp, searing pain in her neck. She couldn't believe how the man who had always been gentle with her could suddenly grip her neck so fiercely. His gaze was icy and cruel, as if he were looking at a corpse. Meeting his eyes, she was so terrified she nearly screamed. Suppressing her panic, she asked in a trembling voice, "Brother Pei, what's wrong with you? Let me go. It really hurts. You really deserve to die." Mira Qin. Zhang Pei showed no intention of letting her go. With a sudden force, he brutally pinned her against the nearby wall. His slender fingers tightened gradually, as if he intended to crush and snap her neck. "Brother Pei, what on earth is wrong with you?" Mira Qin trembled like a leaf in the wind, remembering that she carried his flesh and blood in her womb. She felt a bit more emboldened. "Brother Pei, you can't treat me like this. I'm carrying your child. If anything happens to me or our baby, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." "Yes, you're carrying my child." The bloodlust in Zhang Pei's eyes surged even more violently. His words seemed directed at Mira Qin, yet even more so at himself. "How could I have touched a filthy thing like you, let alone let you conceive my child? You and the bastard in your womb, you both deserve to die. I should die too." Brother Pei. Mira Qin was utterly terrified. She couldn't believe that even after bringing up the child in her womb, he still refused to let go. He even said their child deserved to die. What on earth is wrong with him? Is he possessed or something? Before she could voice these questions, she heard his utterly cold and emotionless words again. "How dare you send that kind of video to my wife? How dare you tell her you're carrying my child? How dare you call my wife an old woman? How dare you?" Mira Qin instantly understood. So it was that disgusting old woman, Ru Lin, who had complained to him. He had clearly told her before that he looked down on that older woman, but she never expected him to stand up for her like this. She thought he must be angry, which was why he was so harsh with her. Once she showed him she was 10,000 times better than that older woman, he surely wouldn't keep defending her. Suppressing the sharp pain in her neck, she cooed softly, "Brother Pei, I really didn't mean it. I just like you so much that I wanted you to break up with Sister Ru Lin. Don't be angry anymore. I bought a sexy bunny outfit tonight. Can you be rough with the little bunny?" Snap. Zhang Pei suddenly tightened his grip, nearly snapping her neck in an instant, the pain silencing her immediately hearing her words. He couldn't help but recall the scene of her wearing a sexy kitten outfit to please him this morning. He had someone pull up the surveillance footage outside her villa. He clearly saw that Ru Lin was standing not far away that night. Thinking about how he and Mira Chin, dressed as a Catwoman, had been tearing at each other and going wild in front of her, he suddenly felt extremely disgusted with himself. He also found the Mira Chin before him particularly repulsive. He completely lost his patience and directly ordered the subordinate standing respectfully by his side, "Take her to the Pei family's private hospital and get rid of the bastard in her belly." "Brother Pei, what did you say?" Mira Chin was so anxious that large tears rolled down her cheeks. She had always believed that a mother's status is elevated by her son, and the child in her womb would help her rise in position. Even though Zane Pei mentioned wanting her to go abroad last night, she still thought he was just saying it casually. He couldn't possibly bring himself to leave her and their child. Who would have imagined that he would actually want someone to kill the child in her womb? She nearly screamed in a broken voice, "Brother Pei, you can't do this to me. The child in my womb is your own flesh and blood. You can't kill your own flesh and blood. I won't disturb Sister Ru Lin anymore in the future. Please, don't harm our child." "Okay." Zane Pei's gaze held not a trace of compassion as he looked at her. After a long while, he finally gazed in an unknown direction and murmured as if in a dream, "You've already disturbed her. I was supposed to have a child. I was supposed to become a father, but now, there's nothing left, nothing at all, Mira Chin, because you sent provocative messages to my wife in the hospital. She found out about your pregnancy. She aborted my own flesh and blood, my wife, and I lost our child. So why should the bastard in your belly still be alive?" Mira Chin froze. She hadn't expected that Ru Lin was also pregnant. Learning that Ru Lin had aborted the child actually made her quite happy. However, now that Zane Pei is wholeheartedly protecting Ru Lin, she dares not show her joy. Instead, she desperately pleads, trying to soften his heart. "I didn't know Sister Ru Lin was pregnant at the time." "Sister Ru Lin is carrying your child, but isn't the baby in my womb also your flesh and blood?" "Brother Pei, I'm begging you, you can't harm our child. Take her to the hospital." Mira Chin was crying violently and miserably, but there was not a trace of pity in Zane Pei's eyes. He coldly glanced at Mira Chin and directly signaled his subordinates to forcibly drag her into the car. He knew that if he allowed Mira Chin to give birth to this child, he and Ru Lin would never have a chance to reconcile. There could be no mistakes in this matter. After a moment of silence, he still followed them to the hospital. "Let me go. You have no right to kill my child. Brother Pei, make them release me now. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cub. How can you abandon your own flesh and blood?" Mira Chin struggled desperately, trying to break free from the bodyguard's grip to protect the leverage in her womb. It's just that Zane Pei's influence is truly too great, and this private hospital is his territory. Her resistance is utterly meaningless. The moment she was forcibly dragged into the operating room, Mira Chin knew she could no longer protect the child in her womb. Overwhelming resentment and fury drove her to scream hysterically, "I may have upset Ru Lin, but the one who truly killed the child in her belly is you. If you hadn't insisted on taking revenge on her and toying with her feelings, she wouldn't have been so utterly disappointed in you. It was you who got me pregnant. It was you who kept sleeping with me behind her back. How dare you hurt my child?" The operating room doors slammed shut, completely cutting off Mira Chin's voice, but her furious scream still echoed relentlessly in Zane Pei's ears. As for aborting the child in Mira Chin's womb, Zane Pei felt not a shred of heartache or reluctance, only overwhelming relief. Mira Chin's words still cut him like a knife, because she was right. He, Zane Pei, was the one truly responsible for the death of his and Ru Lin's child. If from the very beginning, he had faced his own heart with courage and honesty, he wouldn't have lost the woman he loved most. But now, his heart was utterly broken, time could not be turned back, and no matter how much he regretted, nothing could undo the pain he had caused her. Zane Pei dislikes appearing in front of the media, but to find Ru Lin, he made a rare exception and gave an interview. He said he had lost his beloved wife and hoped everyone could help provide any leads about her whereabouts. A reward of 1 million will be given to anyone who can provide useful leads. After moving abroad, Ru Lin furthered her studies at school under her teacher's guidance and also participated in various performances. She knew Zane Pei was looking for her and didn't want her peaceful life disrupted. For every performance, she habitually wore a silver mask and used an English name. However, money can make the devil turn the millstone. In her second year abroad, a netizen still provided Zane Pei with a photo of her eating wontons in Chinatown. Zane Pei somehow managed to do the impossible. Despite being previously unable to leave the country, he found his way to her just days later. Fortunately, Su Yutong learned about this in advance and tipped her off. she boarded a flight to France the day before Zane Pei came looking for her. During her 2 years abroad, she lived a peaceful and fulfilling life after all. She had loved Zane Pei for far too long and far too deeply, completely letting go of that. Love wasn't so easy. In the early days after going abroad, she often thought of him. She would doubt herself, her heart would ache as if cut by a knife, and the pain would keep her awake night after night. But after deciding to stop loving Zane Pei, it was like cutting out the rotten flesh from her own body. It hurt terribly when removed, but those wounds would gradually heal later. She hardly thought of him at all. Even if I occasionally think of it, my heart can hardly stir up any more waves. She knew she had truly let go. Now that Zane Pei is searching for her all over the world, she doesn't feel moved at all. Instead, she feels his actions have caused her a great deal of trouble. She only hopes that no one will provide him with any clues about her whereabouts. He should no longer disturb her peaceful life. She went to a small town in France, which was tranquil and beautiful. The people there were very friendly, and no one paid attention to domestic news. She actually enjoyed a period of peaceful and wonderful time day by day. 3 years had passed since she fled from the wedding. Over these 3 years, she has gained so much. She obtained a diploma from that prestigious dance academy abroad and even went on several tours with her teacher, receiving excellent feedback. Recently, her teacher planned to return home and asked whether she wanted to stay or come back together. The scenery abroad is beautiful, but Ru Lin misses her hometown even more. She hadn't heard from Zane Pei in the past year. She felt that enough time had passed, and Zane Pei must have found someone new by now. After she returned to the country, he probably wouldn't bother her anymore, so she decided to go back with her teacher. What she didn't expect was that, a week before her return, she would see Remy Chen outside her rented house. Over these 3 years, Ru Lin had occasionally thought of Remy Chen, thinking of how she transferred $1 million to Remy Chen and told him they should never contact each other again. The usually cold and jade-like young man surprisingly pleaded with her in a pitiful manner, saying, "Sister, don't ignore me." That feeling was very strange. When she first took Remy Chen as her kept man, it was clearly just for a fleeting novelty, for his youthful and beautiful body. Yet over these 3 years, every time she recalled his pitiful plea not to ignore him, she felt an indescribable sense of guilt. It's as if she's a heartless woman who played with Remy Chen's feelings, leading him on and then abandoning him. 3 years apart, the young man had clearly grown taller. Originally over 6 feet tall, he now stood nearly 6'3". The young man stood tall and straight, like a slender bamboo or a piece of fine cold jade, elegant, aloof. His face had grown even more handsome than 3 years ago, increasingly impossible to look away from. His demeanor is noticeably different from 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Remy Chen had the full aura of an aloof campus heartthrob, pure and untainted by worldly dust. But now, Remy Chen carries an indescribable air of noble elegance, a commanding presence that makes others wary of underestimating him. Recalling how, due to her health issues 3 years ago, they had explored each other's bodies multiple times without going all the way, she felt a slight awkwardness. Their relationship was one of financial support, so when they met, exchanging pleasantries wasn't appropriate. She simply hurried inside, pretending not to see him. "Sister, are you trying to run away again?" Before she could even open the apartment door, he suddenly rushed forward, pinning her firmly against the wall. The young man's large hand slid down from her shoulders inch by inch, gripping her slender waist tightly like a lone wolf seizing its prey, holding her with an almost obsessive restraint. At the very beginning, the youth's eyes carried a coldness as sharp as ice and snow. Later, the corners of his eyes gradually turned crimson, making him look somewhat aggrieved. His voice also couldn't help but take on a hoarse, intensely anxious tone. "But this time, I won't give you another chance to run away, Remy Chen, let go first." The possessiveness in his eyes was too evident, and his palms were scorching hot. Being trapped in his embrace like this, Ru Lin felt extremely awkward. She squirmed uncomfortably, trying to put some distance between them. Little did she expect the dark waves in his eyes to grow even deeper. Then she heard him say, "Sister, I've missed you so much these 3 years. Sister, can I kiss you?" Kiss her? Ru Lin was completely startled by Remy Chen's words. Truly, before this, their relationship had been nothing but a cold, transactional arrangement. After 3 years apart, the moment they meet again he starts talking about intimacy. How utterly abrupt. Yet, as Ru Lin lifted her gaze, she caught sight of the young man's perfectly curved, alluring lips, and suddenly, she remembered, not long ago, as if under some spell, she had even dreamed of him kissing her fiercely. Ru Lin swallowed hard, as the young man's lips drew closer to hers. She couldn't help but feel her mouth go dry. She thought with a sense of reckless abandon, why not just kiss him? It wasn't like they hadn't kissed before. Moreover, 3 years ago, she had personally confirmed that his lips were quite nice to kiss. "Sister, I really want to kiss you, I'm going crazy with desire. Ru Lin inexplicably felt the air grow uncomfortably warm. Remy Chen had a face that exuded a cold, almost ascetic allure, yet when he spoke those words, his entire demeanor became irresistibly seductive and dangerously so. In Ru Lin's dazed moment, his lips were already pressing down on hers. Since you're not saying anything, sister, I'll take it as your agreement. As he spoke, he suddenly deepened the kiss, inch by inch invading her breath, as if he wanted to devour her whole. He has strong exploratory skills compared to 3 years ago. His kissing technique has significantly improved, but because the kiss was too fierce, even bordering on biting, Ru Lin still felt pain. Yet, with their breaths entwined, she could clearly sense his longing for her. Her heart ached dully, and for some inexplicable reason, she found herself reluctant to push him away. Sis, open the door. Hearing Remy Chen's voice, Ru Lin was abruptly jolted back to reality. She didn't really want to open the door for Remy Chen. She had a strong premonition that if she let Remy Chen in, their relationship would spiral out of control, and she hadn't considered starting a new relationship again. But then, she heard the friendly laughter of her neighbors. She also overheard the neighbor saying in German, "Your boyfriend is so handsome." Ru Lin wanted to say that Remy Chen wasn't her boyfriend, but despite Remy Chen's aloof and handsome appearance, he was actually quite thick-skinned. He even thanked the neighbor in fluent German. Ru Lin's face turned so red it seemed about to drip blood. It was after work hours, and the neighbors were gradually returning home. She certainly didn't want to become a spectacle for everyone, so she had no choice but to open the door and invite the wolf into her house. Sister, what would you like to eat tonight? Remy Chen naturally carried Ru Lin into the apartment, his demeanor so familiar it was as if he were the man of the house. Ru Lin somewhat regretted letting him in and thought about asking him to leave, but before she could voice her request to send him away, she heard him speak again. I noticed you have quite a few ingredients in your fridge. How about fish-flavored shredded pork, sweet and sour pork ribs, braised fish, and maybe some dessert? Ru Lin's words of dismissal instantly stuck in her throat. Although her parents passed away early, her elder brother, who grew up with her, was truly good to her. Her brother was also a genius. During his school years, he had already started his own business, and by the time he graduated from university, his tech company had gone public. Her brother spoiled her like a little princess, so she never learned how to cook. After going abroad, she often missed Chinese cuisine, but it was hard to find authentic Chinese food overseas. She couldn't resist her cravings and would occasionally cook a few dishes for herself. However, her cooking skills never improved. Every time she cooked, the food would either be burnt or unbearably salty. But 3 years ago, she tasted the dishes prepared by Remy Chen. His cooking consisted of relatively simple home-style dishes, without much fancy presentation, yet the flavors rivaled those of top-tier chefs. The moment he spoke, her mouth was already watering. She swallowed hard and admitted sheepishly, I still want to eat scrambled eggs with tomatoes. All right. Hearing her words, Remy Chen immediately beamed with joy, as if the biting frost and snow melted under the sunlight, with spring warmth and blooming flowers. It was so beautiful that Ru Lin couldn't help but feel her heart race. Hurriedly turning her face away, Remy Chen was a man of strong initiative. Before long, he had prepared 4 dishes and a soup for Ru Lin. The soup was also Ru Lin's favorite, seafood dumpling soup. He also made Ru Lin's favorite strawberry shortcake. Seeing the shortcake adorned with fresh strawberries, Ru Lin's thoughts couldn't help but drift far, far away. 3 years ago, Zhang Pei had repeatedly promised to bring her strawberry shortcake, but each time, he became lost in Mirachin's tender embrace, forgetting all about his promise to bring Ru Lin strawberry shortcake. It was on the day of her miscarriage that Remy Chen personally made her a strawberry shortcake. Remy Chen actually made her feel very warm. Sis, why aren't you eating? Don't you like strawberry shortcake anymore? If you don't, I can make something else. I do. Ru Lin certainly didn't want to let his kindness go to waste, so she quickly took a bite of the small cake. The sweet and tangy strawberries, mixed with the animal cream, were unbelievably delicious. However, as she savored the delightful strawberry cake, she couldn't help but recall some rather impure memories. 3 years ago, on the day she visited Remy Chen's penthouse, she had completely let loose, indulging in wild and unrestrained fun. After finishing the strawberry cake, she had even left love bites on Remy Chen. Remy Chen appears slender, but when he takes off his clothes, he's surprisingly well built. His cool, pale skin is dotted with love bites, like peach blossoms blooming in the snow. Utterly irresistible, Ru Lin slapped her own face hard. She really couldn't let her thoughts wander any further. If she kept thinking like this, she'd turn into a total pervert. Ru Lin hadn't had such delicious food in a long time, and tonight she ate to her heart's content. After the two happily finished dinner, Remy Chen took the initiative to wash the dishes in the kitchen. Ru Lin thought that after eating, drinking, and washing the dishes, Remy Chen should also leave. But he showed no intention of leaving at all. He also unbuttoned the top 3 buttons of his white shirt, letting his chest muscles peek through. Sis, 3 years ago, you gave me a total of 2 million. 2 million could keep me for 100 years. Sis, our arrangement isn't over yet. Tonight, sis, you can do whatever you want with me. 2 million to keep him for 100 years. What a bargain. Deep down, Ru Lin knew that keeping a man wasn't exactly proper behavior, but Remy Chen was just too tempting, not to mention his cooking skills. She figured since she'd already spent the money, there was no point in being coy. So that night, after Remy Chen finished showering, watching water droplets roll one by one down his collarbone, she couldn't resist. She pounced, took a bite, and then, things quickly spiraled out of control. After a night of madness, Ru Lin never mentioned the keeping arrangement again, but the two seemed to tacitly acknowledge this kind of relationship. Remy Chen moved into her apartment with righteous confidence. He said that no matter whether she chose to return to their home country or settle abroad, he would always stay by her side. Ru Lin suddenly felt that keeping Remy Chen 3 years ago was the best decision she had ever made. It's truly a great value for the price. In front of others, he appears aloof and unapproachable, like an untouchable flower on a high peak, but in her presence, he is genuinely considerate. During the day, he accompanies her for walks and exercise, and when it's mealtime, he willingly heads to the kitchen to prepare meals for her. They are also perfectly in sync when it comes to intimacy in bed. Every night, he would dominantly take her to the heights of pleasure again and again, making her addicted and losing control, unable to extricate herself. In just a week, she had already grown accustomed to Remy Chen's presence. Even the thought that one day he might marry, have children, and propose to end their arrangement made her feel somewhat sad. She could offer more money. She wanted to support Remy Chen for life. The night before returning home, Ru Lin was exhausted and couldn't even open her eyes in the morning. In her dazed state, he carried her to the car, then to the airport, and on to the flight back home. Wife Ru Lin hoped that in this lifetime, she and Zhang Pei would never have to meet again. Yet, just as she stepped out of the airport, she saw Zhang Pei. Compared to 3 years ago, Zhang Pei had become much thinner, but his face remained as flawlessly handsome as ever. Yet, staring at this face so familiar it couldn't be more so, Ru Lin felt not the slightest ripple or flutter in her heart. Time truly is the most terrifying and miraculous thing under heaven. It can forcefully dilute everything, be it love or hate. Standing before Zhang Pei now, she was more certain than ever. She had truly let go. Zhang Pei, clearly, could not. For these 3 years, he had been searching for Ru Lin. In the midnight dreams, she seemed to have become his inner demon, the bone-deep longing leaving him almost without a good night's sleep for 3 years. Seeing her standing right in front of him, for a moment, he thought he was dreaming. He pinched himself hard to make sure it wasn't a dream, and the corners of his unrestrained peach blossom eyes couldn't help but turn deep red. He took a swift step forward, wanting to tightly pull Ru Lin into his embrace. However, before he could even touch Ru Lin, Remy Chen possessively pulled her into his arms. President Pei, randomly hugging someone else's girlfriend isn't a good habit. Please keep your distance from my girlfriend in the future. In front of Ru Lin, although Remy Chen couldn't hide his innate nobility, the impression he gave her was always gentle and considerate. Facing Zhang Pei, he unexpectedly exuded the sharpness of a superior, and the invisible aura of authority emanating from him was even more chilling, making it impossible for anyone to underestimate him. Zhang Pei was utterly stunned. He recognized Remy Chen instantly, the sole heir of the top aristocratic Chen family in the imperial capital. It is said that when Remy Chen was 1 year old, he was stolen by the enemies of the Chen family through unscrupulous means and thrown into a river in an attempt to drown him. Grandma Chen found him and raised him single-handedly. 2 years ago, the Chen family found Remy Chen and reunited with him. Remy Chen was very successful in his university startup, and after being recognized by the Chen family, his career flourished even more. A year ago, he officially took over the Chen group and led it to even greater heights. Zhang Pei couldn't believe that Ru Lin actually knew Remy Chen. Remy Chen even said she was his girlfriend. Watching Remy Chen pull the suitcase with one hand and naturally hold Ru Lin's hand with the other, while she showed not a hint of resistance but only full dependence and affection towards him, Zhang Pei's face instantly drained of all color. His tall frame hunched over in pain. The excruciating agony in his chest like a knife wound made it impossible for him to straighten up for a moment. Ru Lin was his wife, the only woman he had ever loved. He couldn't bear the thought of another man touching her, let alone the possibility that one day she might fall in love with someone else. Darling, I truly know I was wrong. Zhang Pei took several deep, painful breaths before finally finding his voice again. He looked at Ru Lin with devotion, almost humility. and said, I admit, the reason I approached you in the beginning was because I was mortal enemies with your elder brother. I wanted to use you to make him die with everlasting regret, but my so-called revenge was just self-deception. The truth is, I had already fallen in love with you without even realizing it, darling. I've already had Mirachin terminate the pregnancy. You're the only one in my heart, and I'll never do anything to upset you. Again, please, give me one last chance, come back to me, okay? Hearing him mention Mirachin, Ru Lin was slightly taken aback. She hadn't expected that 3 years ago, despite how precious Mirachin was to him, he would have let her abort the child, but none of that mattered to her anymore, because Zane Pei had long ceased to matter in her heart. Honey, I didn't know you were pregnant 3 years ago. Zane Pei's eyes were filled with overwhelming pain, the corners of his eyes so red it seemed as if a tear of blood might form. His voice, too, ached as if crushed by wheels. I regret it so much. It was me who caused our child's death. Yes, my love, we'll have many, many more children in the future. I'll love you and our children well, I promise. Please, don't leave me, okay, Mr. Pei. As Zane Pei stumbled forward, trying to grasp her hand again, Ru Lin immediately pulled Remichin a big step back. Her coldness and wariness toward him stabbed painfully at his eyes and pierced his heart. Hearing her coldly address him as Mr. Pei instead of Zane pierced his heart like 10,000 arrows, making him wish for death rather than endure such agony. Before Zane Pei could recover from the excruciating pain in his heart, he heard Ru Lin's utterly emotionless voice. Let me correct you, I am not your wife. 3 years ago, the night I discovered your plan to flee the wedding, I had already given up on you completely. On the day of our wedding, when I chose to run away, I made it crystal clear to you. What we had was over long ago, and there is no possibility left between us. Please don't call me wife anymore in the future. It makes me. Remichin isn't Ru Lin's boyfriend, just a financially struggling male college student she's supporting, but she didn't want to be pestered by Zane Pei anymore, so she added, this might make my boyfriend misunderstand. I love my boyfriend very much. If he gets hurt or upset, it would break my heart. You love him so much. Hearing Ru Lin say she loved Remichin, the pain in Zane Pei's chest felt like it was tearing him apart, making him bend over again uncontrollably. He still couldn't accept that the girl he loved would fall for another man. After taking a deep breath, he continued in a trembling voice, we've shared so many years of feelings. I don't believe you just casually fall for someone else. Darling, you said he's your boyfriend. You're just trying to upset me, aren't you? I really regret it so much. I'll never make you angry again, my dear wife. Deliberately upsetting you. Are you even worth it? Ru Lin coldly cut him off with a mocking laugh. All those years of feelings, Zane Pei, all those years of feelings didn't stop you from betraying me. I am indeed with Remichin now, and I can't live without him. Zane Pei, I really don't love you anymore, so please stop bothering me in the future. The most disgusting thing in my life was ever loving you. Hearing Ru Lin's words, Zane Pei's face twisted in even greater pain. He staggered back, barely able to keep his footing. He didn't dare to imagine that she would say the most disgusting thing in her life was having loved him. 1,000 arrows piercing the heart couldn't compare to this pain. Ru Lin had no mood to care about Zane Pei's heart-wrenching agony. Seeing him clutching his chest, his body swaying unsteadily, and unable to continue stopping her, she seized the opportunity to take Remichin's hand and quickly walked out of the airport. During this time, Remichin has changed how he addresses Ru Lin again. The driver was at the wheel in front. After they got into the car, he still held her hand tightly. You just said you love me. And you also said I'm your boyfriend. Can I be your boyfriend? Ru Lin thought their current arrangement was just fine, a straightforward transaction, no responsibilities, no need to offer genuine feelings. She definitely didn't want to be his girlfriend. Just as she was about to refuse, Remichin cupped the back of her head and possessively captured her lips in a searing kiss. The one driving in front was the Chen family's chauffeur. The chauffeur was very perceptive, noticing the passion in the back seat through the rearview mirror. He silently raised the partition. There's someone in the car. Ru Lin was about to protest when she noticed that the chauffeur had already raised the partition. Her face turned even redder, almost like a boiled shrimp. She exerted force in her hands, instinctively trying to push Remichin away, not allowing him to go wild in the car. Little did she know, not only did he not let go, but he also deepened the kiss. He began using that ambiguous, seductive voice to call her sister again. Sister isn't allowed to say no. If sister says no, I'll kiss her until she cries. Listen, is this even human speech in front of others? He could barely utter a few words all day, cold as an iceberg, so how could he be this shameless in front of her? Big sister, will you be my girlfriend? Remichin pushed his luck, his hand boldly slipping into her collar, advancing like a conqueror. I'm not lying, I'll really treat you well forever. Big sister, Ru Lin didn't speak, just turned her face away with reddened eyes. Every man loves to talk about forever, but in this vast world, how many can truly remain steadfast until death? She no longer dared to believe in men. Remy Chen saw her struggle and unease, and didn't press her further. He actually wanted to take her back to his villa, but he hadn't yet revealed his true identity to her, fearing she might think he had deceived her, so for now, he followed her back to her spacious downtown apartment. Remy Chen had already instructed the housekeeper to clean the place in advance. As soon as they entered, he eagerly carried her into the bedroom, kissing her until she could barely breathe. The clouds dispersed and the rain ceased. She had just fallen asleep when Remy Chen's phone rang urgently. Remy Chen's eyes turned cold, but he still answered the call. Remy Chen, where are you now? She's exhausted and fell asleep. Before he could finish, Remy Chen coldly cut him off. Remy Chen's implication was all too obvious. Clearly, he meant that Ru Lin was tired because of him. Faintly, he could even hear Ru Lin murmuring Remy Chen's name in her drowsiness. The dense, overwhelming pain enveloped his heart like an iron net, making every breath he took an agony. When he heard her say she was going to sleep with Remy Chen, it felt like a knife twisting in his heart, but the heartache and sorrow he felt then were nothing compared to the utter despair consuming him now. At the airport, he had thought she was just speaking in anger. She was just deliberately using Remy Chen to provoke him. He couldn't bear to think that she had actually been intimate with Remy Chen and slept with him. He couldn't help but think. Just hearing others say she was exhausted had already pierced his heart like 10,000 arrows, making life worse than death. 3 years ago, when she had witnessed him being so close with Mira Qin, how much pain and despair must she have felt in her heart? The increasingly unbearable agony was slowly tearing Zhang Pei's heart apart. After bending over in pain, he found himself completely unable to straighten up again. He took a deep breath, struggling to find his voice, then shouted hoarsely, "Wife, don't let him touch you, Remy Chen, I won't allow you to touch my wife." As he continued shouting, his voice uncontrollably took on a tone of pitiful, helpless sobs. "Wife, I truly know I was wrong. I don't mind that you've been with others. I will never make you angry again. I really can't live without you. Please, come back to me." "Okay, dream on." Remy Chen answered his call to make him give up and stop pestering Ru Lin in the future, but seeing how stubborn he was, completely unwilling to let go, Remy Chen didn't waste any more time on him. He coldly hung up the phone, then kissed Ru Lin's red lips with lingering tenderness. In truth, he had an unyielding pride. Even if penniless, he would never consent to being kept by a woman. But 3 years ago, the woman who kept him was Ru Lin, the girl he had longed for since childhood. Being kept by her didn't feel humiliating or shameful. He only wanted to do everything in his power to hold on to her. Yet, 3 years ago, she merely declared their relationship over before kicking him aside and leaving without a word. He almost never saw her again. He searched frantically for 3 years, suffering in agony for 3 years. Now that the moon has finally fallen into his arms, how could he possibly let Zhang Pei snatch her away? He kissed her crimson lips more deeply, with devout passion. "Sister, you are mine, in this lifetime, and the next. You can never think of leaving me, never think of it." A 23-year-old young man truly has incredible stamina. At first, Ru Lin could still keep up with his demands. Later, she was completely exhausted and fell into a deep sleep. She woke up to find it was already noon the next day. Remy Chen stood by the bed, buttoning his white shirt one by one, looking peerlessly elegant and incomparably refined. As Ru Lin lifted her eyelids, she caught a glimpse of his faintly visible chest muscles. Recalling last night, she had grabbed that spot several times when she couldn't hold back, accented by crimson scratches. The youth's cool, pale skin looked increasingly alluring and provocative. She couldn't help but swallow hard. Had enough of looking. Ru Lin was still lost in the afterglow of certain indescribable scenes when she heard his teasing voice. "If you'd like, sister, I can stay undressed. What good can come from not wearing clothes?" Thinking of his wild and fierce demeanor in bed, Ru Lin suddenly felt her legs go weak. Seeing that he hadn't even finished buttoning up and was already starting to unbutton again, Ru Lin, afraid he might go wild on her once more, quickly spoke up to stop him. "Stop undressing. I'm practically starving to death." "Okay, I'll make something delicious for my sister." When Remy Chen is fierce, it's overwhelming, but when she's good, she's exceptionally well behaved. He buttoned up his white shirt again, planted a loving kiss on Ru Lin's forehead, and then turned to leave the bedroom. Remy Chen's cooking skills are, as always, excellent. The abundance of domestic ingredients gave him more room to showcase his culinary skills. As she savored the delicious dishes and gazed at his strikingly handsome face, Ru Lin surprisingly felt a rare sense of peaceful contentment. For a fleeting moment, she even imagined Spending her entire life with Remy Chen, yet she knew better than to trust a man's sweet words and grand promises. Unwilling to risk her heart again, she resolved to simply keep him as her kept man if he could continue accepting this arrangement. She was willing to keep him for a lifetime without ever changing. If one day he grew tired, regretted it, or met a girl he truly loved, she wouldn't use their arrangement to trap him. She would let him go. The food was so delicious that Ru Lin accidentally overate. Remy Chen cleaned up the dining table and kitchen, then accompanied her for a walk outside. As soon as they stepped out of the residential area, Mira Qin, who had been waiting outside, lunged at Ru Lin like a rabid dog. In her hand, she clutched a gleaming fruit knife. Mira Qin truly harbored a venomous hatred for Ru Lin for years ago. After Ru Lin saved her, Zhang Pei also arrived at the scene. Seeing that Zhang Pei was handsome and drove a luxury car worth tens of millions, she knew he was wealthy and immediately set her sights on him. She employed many tactics and finally managed to climb into his bed, becoming his woman and even getting pregnant with his child. She thought she could marry into the affluent Pei family with the child in her womb. She didn't dare to think it was all because of that bitch Ru Lin, who had cruelly killed the child in her womb. After Zhang Pei forced her to abort her child, he continued to target her relentlessly. Numerous scandals were exposed about her, leading to her expulsion from school and relentless online abuse. She couldn't find a job and couldn't marry a decent man, and having grown accustomed to spending lavishly, she couldn't bear the humiliation of being penniless. Forced by circumstances, she had no choice but to become a mistress for wealthy older men. Many older men have twisted tastes, and to please them, she endured considerable hardship. Originally, being a mistress to those older men had already subjected her to endless humiliation. Not long ago, after becoming pregnant with one of their children, she was brutally beaten in public by his wife, who had underworld connections, resulting in a miscarriage and the permanent loss of her ability to bear children. His malicious wife even threatened to have her killed. She had heard about the old woman's ruthless methods and knew these words were no empty threat. She genuinely wanted her dead. She believed her misery was all Ru Lin's doing. With no way out left, she was determined to drag Ru Lin down with her before she died. After learning Ru Lin had returned to the country, she secretly lurked near her neighborhood, waiting for a chance to kill her. To her surprise, the opportunity actually came. She glared venomously at Ru Lin, mustering all her strength before viciously thrusting the fruit knife toward her heart. Sister, Remy Chen hadn't anticipated such a sudden turn of events. Instinctively, he shielded Ru Lin in his arms. He was very agile, kicking Mira Qin away effortlessly. However, hoping Ru Lin would open up to him, he still decided to play a little trick. Instead of holding her to dodge, he let Mira Qin plunge the fruit knife in her hand into his back. Brother Remy Chen is the white moonlight in Mira Qin's heart. Seeing him risk his life to block a knife for Ru Lin, her heart ached, but she hated Ru Lin even more. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes with force, then pulled the knife from his back and stabbed it fiercely into Ru Lin once again. This time, she failed to harm anyone again. Remy Chen kicked her hard, sending her flying. The neighborhood security guard heard the commotion, rushed over, snatched the knife from her hand, and pinned her firmly to the ground. Someone had already called the police. Soon, the police arrived and took her straight to the station. She knew that what awaited her was the severe punishment of the law. She didn't want to go to prison. She hated the unfairness of fate to the extreme. She felt that it should be Ru Lin who deserved to be imprisoned and die a miserable death. Why was it her life that was ruined? However, Remy Chen would never let her off. No matter how much hatred or resentment she harbored, she could no longer harm Ru Lin. Darling, Zhang Pei happened to come looking for Ru Lin in this area. From a distance, he saw Mira Qin attempting to hurt Ru Lin and sprinted over like a madman, but Remy Chen acted faster than him, using his own flesh and blood to shield Ru Lin. Remy Chen, how are you? Are you in a lot of pain? Ru Lin hadn't noticed his presence at all at that moment. Her heart and eyes held only Remy Chen. She held on to Remy Chen with all her strength, tears rolling down in large drops. Her eyes, brimming with moisture, were filled with nothing but heartache and concern for Remy Chen. Darling, she still ignored him. In fact, even as she accompanied Remy Chen onto the ambulance, she didn't spare him a single glance. He saw Remy Chen snuggling in her arms, cooing, "Sister, never leave me," with tears in her eyes. She nodded firmly. Darling, I could take a knife for you too. The ambulance had already driven far away, yet Zhang Pei remained frozen in place, his face deathly pale, murmuring the words over and over, "I'm willing to die for you, honey, don't ignore me." Only the howling winter wind rushing past his ears responded to him. Watching the ambulance disappear around the corner, he finally realized she truly didn't want him anymore. 5 years later, these 5 years had been particularly difficult for Zhang Pei. When Ru Lin first returned to the country, he sought her out multiple times, even going so far as to kneel and beg for her to come back, but her eyes were only for Remy Chen. Later, she begged him to stop bothering and disgusting her. The hatred in her eyes stabbed him so deeply that he dared not seek her out again. Every day without her felt like a living death to him. He could only numb his aching heart with alcohol, yet even when he drank himself into a stupor, his heart remained hollow and in pain. He lost her, and for the rest of his life, he would never find redemption. He never expected that while taking a walk at the university she once attended today, he would see her with Remy Chen and their son. She and Remy Chen, each holding one hand of the child who looked about 3 or 4 years old. They exchanged occasional glances, their affection flowing between them. Their love so intense it nearly made him lose his footing, especially when he saw the boy who looked so much like Remy Chen. His heart ached so badly that he stumbled and collapsed to the ground in utter disarray. They should have had children of their own, but alas, he had committed an unforgivable mistake. He had lost her forever, and with her, their child. The family of 3 walked away quickly, chatting and laughing, yet he could never escape from it. He was doomed to a lifetime of torment and regret, never finding peace.